Welcome back to NACHT WAFFEN Pilot with Penny Bradley, and today we have Dr. Paul Cottrell coming back to visit us again. Yay, I didn't scare him off the first time.
You didn't scare me off. I was scared, but you didn't scare me off.
Okay. So, yeah. Now, before the show, we had some technical difficulties that had to be dealt with before we could start. Dr. Paul has a degree in finance, and he has been back to college after that and been to medical school, and he's a real medical doctor. We're not giving...
No. I'm not a real medical doctor. No. I have a PhD in finance, and I am in medical school as a second year medical school student. My research for my master's degree at Harvard on the TAT protein, using that as a autoimmune disorder therapy.
Okay. So I totally botched that.
It's okay.
Okay. I'm glad you.
But it's important. It's important to make sure that the audience understands. I have a doctorate. It's a PhD in finance, and I'm in medical school. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that does matter. So,
but I do understand SARS-CoV-2 probably better than most MDs do. Well,
there's folks in the community that don't have degrees of any kind that understand SARS-CoV-2 at your level. The trouble is we've got a lot of people out there that don't know what they're talking about, and they're spreading lots of rumors, and I'll call it what it is. There's people out there spreading bullshit. And so I'm glad that what you've been talking about is at least fact-based and, rational. I hear a lot of stuff out there on Facebook.
What's also important to mention, Penny, is it's not just looking at the data, but it's also taking all these different pillars of knowledge that I have. I'm basically a polymath. And, I used to be an automotive engineer. I used to manage a portfolio. Now I'm doing all this medical research and second year medical student at a different university than Harvard, but a medical student, second year. So I have this unique experience of synthesizing exactly what is going on. And my training in finance and managing portfolios and creating these correlations for actually managing certain assets and dealing with news, international news, especially when it was dealing with energy sector and the currency market sector, it gave me a unique ability to kind of extrapolate rapidly to understand where things were going. So when I first started listening to what was going on in Wuhan, I immediately knew that there was a crisis very quickly. Unlike, let's say, Ebola. Remember the Ebola crisis? Yeah. It was even in New York, at a bowling alley. And there was one minute was I worried about Ebola. Not 1 minute.
I wasn't worried about Ebola either. I have worked in home health care after my lupus was triggered in college. And the thing that, as a home health care worker, I was most concerned about was antibiotic resistance tuberculosis. That has been frightening. And because my last attempt at a degree was based in microbiology and chemistry, I really hope you don't think I'm an idiot just because I didn't graduate because I was sick, because I've been self-taught since. I'm one of those people that I have to study or I make everybody around me crazy. So it's a simple matter of I keep myself occupied doing research. And for years, it was political research. So I have been doing political research since Reagan was in office. And so I have a depth to that. And that depth of research is what I brought into my personal testimony and how it applies to real life today. But we're not talking about me. We're talking about, well, I was hoping we would talk about, because of last week's question about Elon Musk and his warnings about AI. I felt like you bypassed my question and went immediately to the regulation issue and went completely political with it. Where my emphasis, what I really wanted to know about was what you thought about the AI. And
specifically about the AI.
About, is it a potential threat to humanity?
Oh, I think AI is a existential threat to humanity. I even wrote a book about it.
Yeah,
I also stated that you have to kill. Not only that, you have to kill the AI.
Yeah, that's.
It's an existential threat to humanity, and therefore it has to be destroyed. It's very similar to Fauci. Fauci is an existential threat to humanity. He needs to be prosecuted, and if found guilty, destroyed.
Okay, I'll agree with that. He needs to be prosecuted and if found guilty. Okay, thank you. Because I'm not into threatening people in America. We have this.
No, I'm not into threatening people, but the thing is that when
you're proven guilty in a court of law.
Right, so, but the point here that I'm making is that when you are developing technology, or if someone grows to a certain level of power and it's an existential threat to your life, or your family's life, or the life of the country, then it is the right and the obligation of the individual to protect themselves. That is what the Second Amendment is all about. And so it is, quote, legal to defend yourself against an existential threat.
Yeah.
Period. So in terms of AI, it is not okay for Google to develop a technology that becomes so pernicious that it has the high potentiality of harming you or your children or their children's children. And it is our right and obligation to stop it. Now, we can try it peacefully, but if the lobbying group overpowers the peaceful discontent, then the only recourse that the citizens have is to rise up and destroy the existential threat. So I see nothing wrong with the concept that this technology that's being developed needs to be destroyed. Because it's very similar to how we opened up the show. I knew right away that there was an existential threat that was going on with Wuhan and how it would erode our civil liberties in the United States. It's happening in real time, day in and day out, the last couple weeks, just for the Delta variant. Just for the Delta variant. So now it's to the point.
An article that came out this week in The Intercept about how that American tech companies are applying Chinese social social editing or whatever, the social credit,
Mhm.
that they are applying that to the United States and have been during the entire COVID shutdown.
Mhm.
So they are keeping score of, the article specifically mentioned that PayPal is working with the Anti-Defamation League out of Israel, that they are targeting people who they consider to be extremists. Now, at what point did we give the Anti-Defamation League authority to do this? At what point did we give PayPal the right to censor people with bank accounts with them based on what that particular group has decided is extreme behavior?
Mhm. Well, just take what happened to WikiLeaks. You know,
Exactly.
they shut off their PayPal account and Stripe accounts, and people, and the way that people can donate. This happened to Adapt 2030 and Ice Age Farmer with Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Patreon was planning on shutting them off, or was being pushed to shut them off, because they were misinforming the public about their take on what's going on with climate change. So what's happening is people no longer have freedom of speech, and that if you go against a certain narrative and you happen to monetize that narrative, they want to shut you down.
Even if you don't monetize it. 2 years ago, I guess it's 2 years ago and 3 months, I was sharing photos, secret Facebook group, that the intent was for the members of the group to use these photos for desensitization, so that they would not be constantly triggered by the topics. And Facebook decided that I was an extremist, and I'm no longer allowed to sign petitions at the White House site because of this.
Well, the thing is that you should be able to sign petitions as many times as you want, no matter how much of an extremist you are, as long as you're, because the way the petition works is if you're a voter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as long as you're a registered voter, then, and a citizen of the United States, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to.
Oh, it's because of the content of the photos, which were meant for desensitization, not for promoting any political theory. It was,
well, I'll tell you what,
psychological treatment.
Right, but what the news is doing is desensitizing us towards, let's say, violence in our communities. If it bleeds, it leads, is the phrase in their realm, right? So
Yes.
they're desensitizing us to violence. Well, does that mean that they no longer have a voice? Well, then that means that Anderson Cooper shouldn't have a voice, because he promotes desensitization of violence. So, but what it is here, but
that I came up with why they allowed my second profile to stay online. But yeah, this was the situation. Was I was being censored not because of political speech, but because of something that was meant to be psychological, medical, and it was assumed to be something other than it was.
Mm-hmm. So in the background, I'm playing
Yeah, I'm
playing a Cold War documentary. So I'm trying, in these shows that I do, I'm trying to have some sort of historical context.
Mm-hmm.
In the background, we're talking about the Cold War, the early days, right after World War II, and it's like early 1950s, through the 60s, and you had this period of time that if you questioned, then even in the United States, but if you questioned authority in China, in Russia, or the Soviet Union at the time, or the United States, you were put into the the dissident box.
The gulag.
Yeah, the gulag, right?
The
You know,
gulag.
or you go to, you know, you go to Siberia. So
Or you would end up at a uh, Joe McCarthy hearing. And
exactly. So if you start questioning about, let's say, the development of nuclear weapons, they'd automatically assume you were a communist. You know, if you were in the United States saying that. Even researchers that were part of the Manhattan Project, and they were starting to question, you know, the reasons to continuing the nuclear weapons program.
Well, after all,
they were considered
so
dissidents. Yeah. So
well,
this is our,
it's right on my Facebook wall that I am a dissident because I am not buying into the propaganda.
It's okay to be a dissident. It's your right to be a dissident. That's the whole point of the First Amendment. The problem here is happening that the government is now just eroding your civil liberties, and unfortunately, it seems as though the court system is not upholding our civil liberties when challenged at the court level.
I've been seeing this go on for a very long time, and
well, it's been going on since World War II.
Yeah, it's been going on since World War II for sure. I've seen changes in the social dynamic over the decades because, let's face it, I'm an old fart. I was born in 55. So I was old enough in the 60s to have witnessed the Cold War. And in those days, if you spoke Russian, if you had friends who spoke Russian, you didn't even have to be communist. And you were suspect just by knowing the language or knowing someone who spoke it. Mm-hmm. In fact, I commented to a friend of mine in Moscow recently that in those days, I would have been in trouble just for being friends with him. And that part has changed. We are allowed to talk to each other, but only on approved media where they can listen to everything we say. And everything we have said since 9/11 is sitting in the computer banks at Ogden, Utah, ran by the NSA and shared with anybody that wants to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure when we talk about the topics that we talk about on your channel and my channel, it's, you know, it's data bank there too. Yeah. And so the ones that are listening at the NSA, I still think that Fauci, when prosecuted, should hang from a tree.
Love this man. How about this one? I got a question. What about all those people out there that actually believe there's no such thing as the virus, COVID-19?
Well, you know, this is a good time. This is important to say, because there was a court case that took place in Alberta, Canada, where this individual, this just happened. This person received a ticket for not wearing his mask. So he was fined like $1,200 or something like that. So he goes to court and he's fighting it, right? And because you're getting sued, you can see the evidence. Where's the evidence? And you can ask for evidence. So he asked for evidence to prepare for his case to his prosecutor about the actual proof that they've isolated a virus in Canada. Okay. They come back, long story short, they come back telling the judge that they can't provide that evidence. Okay, that's what they said. They can't provide that evidence. But here's an important point. You know, but here is the important piece. The average person means that it doesn't exist.
No,
that's not what they said. What they said was they can't provide the evidence. And that is the hint that there is the weapons program. And you have to remember there was a lab in Canada that was infiltrated by the Chinese, part of the 1,000 Talent program, and they were sneaking out samples. If you remember, That was one of the research labs
Yeah.
during the early days of the makings of this virus. So
my
what's
research
it's a hiding. The point that I'm making, hold on, Penny. But the point that I'm making here is that they were hiding a weapons program that was going on in North America. But the truther community, when they hear all this and they're passing this video around, this guy is making it seem as though SARS-CoV-2 was never isolated and never sequenced and doesn't exist, which is total BS, because I can prove that it exists.
That is being spread by David Icke, who has no medical degree.
Right.
As far as I know, no degrees at all, and has a very, very long history of pulling shit out of his ass.
Thank you.
And people just completely buy into it.
So So we got to say this out loud.
He is the source of that.
Wait, Penny. Yeah, Darryl.
Yeah, David Icke is the source of bullshit. And for all you people that actually think there's no such thing as the virus, well, here's a scientist right there that sequenced it. Hey,
here's the thing.
Here's
what's important to understand for the audience. When I looked at this crisis at the very beginning, there are databases that one can go to called the NCBI database that's run by the NIH that databanks a whole bunch of different organisms, cats, alligators, viruses, bacteria, human genome. They have a whole bunch of stuff in the database. And you can actually see the sequence of all these different variants.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just at the NIH database. There's multiple genomic databases that individuals can go to actually see the sequence. And not only that, there are papers published that actually show when they actually isolated and grew the virus to be able to sequence it and compare it to the other genomes that were data banked, and how we know how Dr. Shi built the thing with the bat SARS and the SARS and the HIV homology. That's how I did on January 25th, was actually go into the database and looked at the genome, and in the reference genome, it actually has a published paper of a patient on December 26th of 2019 who had the clinical presentations of what we now call COVID-19. At that time, it wasn't called COVID-19 because it was brand new.
Yeah.
They didn't know what it was. And they isolated the fluid, grew in the actual virus, and then they were able to sequence the genome of that isolate. They sequenced it like 50 million times. All right, 50 million times, not once, not twice, 50 million times to do this contig, to build the sequence. And then they compared it. That paper was published on February of 2020 and attached to the reference genome in the NCBI database. So anyone that says that it's never been isolated, and anyone that says that it's never been sequenced is total BS. That published paper in Nature has been there since February of 2020. Ooh. From a patient in December.
Yeah,
of 2019.
I started hunting the trail of patents, because any patent that any life form that they are going to have a vaccine on, they have a patent on the bug. They have to, in order to do the vaccine.
Right.
And so I was following the patent trail.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten it from Wuhan to Fort Detrick, and from Fort Detrick I had gotten it into the European Union, but I couldn't find patient 0, the patent for that. And a friend of mine who lives in France gave me the patent number, and it was in the French patents, not the European Union ones. And it was the original bug came from a patient in Hanoi in approximately 2003, and he had SARS but had died from pneumonia. So this was the connection between SARS and pneumonia, was that patient. And that was the original strain that they started with, and it's gone through bats and pangolins since. And yeah, I use
Man-made forceful, man-made
Yes.
forceful development. Yeah.
man-made
Man-made,
forceful-
yeah, right.
It is obviously a bioweapon. To
Yes.
anyone who has any kind of microbiology or DNA training, you can look at this and you can see where things were added forcefully. They're just jammed in there. They don't belong there.
And not only that, the reference genome is actually bigger than any of the other SARS genomes.
Yeah.
Of course,
It's
they had to
larger.
add
It's
the
larger.
spike.
So they added to
They
it.
added the spike that makes it where it can latch into your lungs and become pneumonia.
And so hold on. To recount and to recall what he and Penny just said, both of them just said it together. The virus is real. Oops, I'm sorry. People need to learn to stop looking at YouTube videos, listen to YouTube professionals that are still broadcasting that YouTube crap, but have been kicked off of YouTube. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Elvis has left the building.
I got so inundated with people quoting David Icke that I literally was showing electron microscope photos of the bug, and people were telling me it was made up.
Right.
And other people were saying, but it's activated by 5G. That they didn't have any disease until they activated the 5G in Wuhan. You know, viruses have been here for longer than there have been people.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
not.
you know, that's the thing. The last year has been bombarded by a lot of disinformation. You know, there's a group of people that say that the viruses don't exist. Not just this virus, but viruses in general don't exist. You know, that's a theory out there, which in my mind has been debunked. You know, in this particular virus, they keep on saying is pneumonia or is influenza.
Didn't even attempt to debunk it. It was so insane from the get-go. It is, the old word we used to use was Luddite.
Yeah, you know, in a way, you're right. You know, Luddite, you know, is more you know, on a technological scale. I think when I was on Dan and Daryl's show, Black and White, last week, I think Dan said it best. The people that are orchestrating this crisis, they are thinking at a higher level. They're like doing, you know, 3-dimensional or 4D chess. And the average person does not think at that level, and therefore they're always behind. They're always caught off guard. They're always unprepared. They just, and the thing is that these individuals that are pushing the non-virus, or the, you know, this particular crisis is all a pandemic and it doesn't exist and all this stuff, they are hurting individuals and preventing them to start thinking in terms of, okay, this is a weapon, it's being used against us to hurt us biologically and, you know, hurt us with our civil liberties. And there's probably going to be a lot of restructuring of society through this crisis, but it has to happen in stages. And they just can't think in those terms. These people are just they've been dumbed down. They just can't get it.
They get a stimulus and they respond, but they cannot see the stimulus before it hits.
Right, exactly. You know, there's a certain level of almost, even though I like dogs and, you know, dogs are cool, but there's a certain level of can only max out at, right? And so the behavior of, let's say, an intelligent human being relative to a dog is substantial. What I'm starting to notice with people with this crisis is their responses are very dog-like. It's one-dimensional. It's, it's reactive.
Okay, keep in mind, IQ is defined that 100 is average. That means that for every one of us above it, there's somebody below it. This is the way.
Assuming normal distribution. Assuming normal distribution.
As far as I've been able to tell, it's pretty close to normal distribution. The bell curve evens out in the 90 to 110 category, and that you get tapering amounts from either direction. So the massive majority of the population is in the 90 to 110 category. They are so concentrated on making a living, paying their bills, having some kind of fun when they're off work, that none of this stuff even concerns them until it affects their daily life.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is it is affecting their daily life now.
They don't see any reason to even look into it until it's too late.
Right. I agree with you on that. Totally.
And that's what's going on. I get a lot of people in my world who say, Penny, explain this to me. What do I need to do? That's putting way too much power in my hands. I should not be telling people what to do about things.
Well, the thing is they're programmed to think that way because that's what TV is doing for them. They're being told what to buy. They're being told on how to react under certain situations. You get news alerts on the phone from CNN telling you how to, what's the best way to handle stress using yoga, and there's so many, BS stuff that gets published on CNN.
But when I was
people aren't being people.
Yoga was considered demonic.
Well, but the point that I'm making here, right. But the point I'm making is that people are being programmed through notifications and programs that they watch on TV on how to live their life. One of the biggest categories for books is self-help kind of books, how-to books. There's this huge industry of how to lose weight, how to keep your marriage, how to do this, how to grow your business, how to.
And the people that are writing the how-to-dos don't know how to do anything but write how-to-do books.
Exactly, because they have no other skill set.
Exactly.
Right. They hate their life, so they look in the mirror, and then they read a book on how to be a how-to-doer.
Yeah.
So, and then they write a book on how to do something. But unfortunately, in America, that's where majority of the population is at. They need to be told on how to do something. For example, I was taking the F train on the MTA in New York this morning. This guy, he kind of was dressed kind of sloppy. He looked like, he's been, he just looked kind of disheveled, and he was having a hard time realizing how to transfer to the M train. All right. And the train line that he was on, that station was that we were at, had only the F train coming in and the E train. All right. And I told him, well, you have to take the E train down to 14th Street and make a transfer to the M train. And he was just like, huh? Can you tell me again? I was just like, dude, man. I just like, and this is unfortunately a lot of America.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Well, I don't live where there are crosstown trains. I live where we have a transit system where the bus runs, and it's a short bus. The bus runs every 2 hours, and you can go all over the county, but you can't make connections very well. And it starts at 9 p.m. after most people are at work, and it stops at about 5 p.m. So if you get off at 6, you can't ride it home.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you've got,
Right. But
and
the
then
thing is that
and then they wonder why they're not making money, but at the same time, trying to explain to somebody by the time you get there, it will be too late to come home.
I gotta hop in real quick because y'all got me on this one. The train one was good because I'm like, hold on. Do y'all believe that honestly it's just literacy, or it was a group of people have actually just drank the wrong Kool-Aid, so to speak, and lost mental functioning and logic, or what do y'all both believe? I mean, I'm sitting here like, how you not catch that train? I mean, there's a big ass map right there. You can't read a damn map.
Right, and here's the thing: is
part of it's literacy, and part of it is there is a part of the population, a large part of the population, who cannot figure it out on their own.
I guess
he had no desire to even look. It didn't even dawn on him to look at the map.
Hold on.
And I don't even know if he can read the map.
Look, hold on. The question is, are they like the woke American basketball team that lost to France and lost to Nigeria and lost? I mean,
you get to the Olympics, and those people are all at a level of performance that the rest of us can never hope to achieve. All of them, even the Nigerians.
After we dominated basketball for like what, centuries?
No. Penny, what Daryl is stating here is really important. Because of wokeism, we have become less competitive.
We have become a lot
and we've
less
lost that American determination,
that
American ingenuity, that American can-do spirit.
Can do, CB.
Right.
Can do.
Right. And the thing is it's all about feelings and not hurting someone's, precious little feelings, and, having purple hair, and stating that there was oppression 300 years ago and that all whiteys are at fault. People don't want to grow up and take responsibility for their own actions and their own, situation, and they want to blame someone. And and unfortunately, the wokeism has made us less competitive, and that is the reason why there's going to be a 21st century China, because we lost our competitive edge. And I saw something very similar to what was happening in the 80s and the early 90s with the Japanese and the United States engineers. The United States engineers were losing ground to the Japanese. The only thing that helped us was that the Japanese had hubris and tanked their economy. Mm-hmm. It wasn't because of how great the American engineers were. It was because the Japanese
tanked their own economy, and that tanked their efforts here.
Where's the competition?
At the same time, we have dumbed down our education, starting with the generation right after mine.
How about this?
Because I was the tail end of the generation that went to Vietnam, and those of us who didn't go were screaming, we don't want to go. And they decided that teaching the masses to think for themselves, to think critically, was not a good plan. So they now split up kids into those they think can go to college and those they think can't. And those they think can go to college are the only ones being taught to think, and they're not even being taught to think until they're already in high school.
They've removed trade schools from the kids already, mostly.
They removed trade schools. They stopped teaching logic in geometry. They're no longer doing two-column proofs. They stopped doing that before my kids were taking geometry in high school. And I went to the administration and I screamed my head off, and they said, kids that age can't handle logic.
I think
we're talking 16-year-olds, and I learned it when I was 14.
Can I smoke some weed and get this over with? I mean, I want to be with the zombies. Oh, by the way, you know the CDC has a report for zombies out there too. Yeah, literally zombies. The problem that we also have is the competitive edge, literacy, education, logic, everything.
I haven't been I haven't been quiet about this. I've been screaming about the education system for what, 6 months now?
Yes, you have. And I mean, I mean, how can you? That goes to the point that I brought from the beginning. How is it that people can say there's no virus?
They
Because
just aren't.
they're
They don't have the education.
ignorant.
Right. I'm telling you, they don't have thinking capability anymore.
They do not have the ability to do critical thinking. They
Right.
cannot read a scientific report and understand what it says.
And they don't
So
even use Google
They
to get the
listen
definition.
to some guru that's
David Icke.
that's standing there with chutzpah
Making
and
money.
making money at it and pontificating, and it's, well, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to listen to him.
Odin's mug
That's
is
exactly what's going on.
Odin's mug has become a thermos now, so y'all gotta watch out. I might get hot tonight. Isn't it a shame that all this is? Look at everything that's happening in America from January 6th, the insurrection. People can't see it. The strategy that went into it. We can all see it.
I don't know.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, they riled us up to make a mistake, to only blame us and put us in a category of terrorists.
Yeah, exactly.
There needed to be more discipline. And this is where I think the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys kind of made the mistake. It's just that they lost their kind of discipline to prevent this
dealing-
crisis.
They're dealing with the same thing that we're seeing in the community. They've got a lot of followers,
And they're stupid.
not many thinkers.
Right. Exactly.
You have to have somebody in leadership that can think.
Well, we got
You've
Joe
got to
Biden.
You have to have somebody at middle management who can think.
We got Kamala Harris.
You have to have somebody at the bottom who says, wait a minute, you're full of shit.
We got AOC.
Right.
No, AOC is a balloon floater.
Okay, we're going Nancy
Every
Pelosi.
administration has somebody who will float the most radical ideas, make a fool of themselves in the process, but get those ideas out there.
Okay.
And then that balloon floater will later on be rewarded.
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, I think
that is why-
AOC is going to be the next Nancy Pelosi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or the president. I
that
can
is
imagine
why
that.
Biden is
Mhm.
president now, is because he was the balloon floater under Obama, and he was owed.
Mhm.
Jim Crow Joe.
I've mentioned this off air. I do not believe that voting matters. I believe everything is preordained, who's going to win. But by the time it gets to the election, all of the candidates are acceptable to the actual people running the show.
Yeah. It's
Nothing-
probably been around for a long time.
Bought and paid
The
for.
plan has not changed one iota in my entire lifetime. There is no way that could be happening if voting actually mattered.
Well, my statement for voting is, if people stop cheating and everybody would have an ID card when they vote and walk up to that booth and use your ID, scan it and vote, then we'll have a fair election one day. But even in the
I
background,
see some of these countries that most of their people are illiterate. What do they have? They have color coding so that you know what party they are by what color is with it, and you can vote for each category one person.
Red
And
to green.
when you have voted, they dip your thumb in ink, so you can't vote again. That is the basic. You can't cheat that way. Even if you can't read or write, you know what party you're voting for, and you can only vote once. And dead people can't vote that way.
Oh, hold on. Yes, they did. You remember there's that article that I got where the they dig up the dead person every 3 years in an island in Indonesia so they can, celebrate life, get them dressed in modern clothes and put some new glasses on. I got a video for it too. Yeah,
I've seen those, but that's not at a ballot box.
I gotta have fun. Odin's back.
Yeah. For my audience, Odin has been up all night. He had shows. He has been on air for all but 1 hour. He's what we call at my house nighty-night crazy. I think we're doing good that most of what he says has made so. Yeah. And actually most of what you have said has made sense. But I don't think that they're going to be bringing dead bodies into the voting booth and having them vote. I think.
Well, I'll tell you, they did. They did bring dead bodies and had them vote because there were dead bodies that actually voted.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they weren't dug up. They were just people.
Well, we don't know how they got there, but the thing is they voted.
My grandmother voted down in North Carolina. She's been dead for over 30 years. That's okay.
Yeah, and I bet she's still, they're still issuing a Social Security check. The thing is that ran the issue, and they had to write a bill to stop payments for Social Security of dead people. But the problem is the Democrats said, you can't do that. We need time. We need time. And they gave it 3 years. They gave it 3 years to clean up the mess. Yes.
Yes.
3
years.
Well,
Yeah. So the question is who's collecting the money? Here's the issue: is who's collecting the money?
Right.
And not only that, because there is an issuance of the Social Security, there's more probability that those individuals will still continue to vote even though they're dead.
Here's a go.
So
yeah, you're right. Well,
the Democrats the Democrats can't get the vote, so they have to dig up dead people, basically.
Right. So here's the statement. Annie from the show Southern Sense, her husband died 4 hours or 5 hours before the turn of the clock at midnight. She could not get his Social Security check. 4 hours before the midnight hour, 12:01, where she could have gotten his Social Security check to help her out the next month.
Wow.
Think about it. Now, but they could
They vote Republican.
They vote Republican. See, that's the problem. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So it's really the death tax on Republicans.
Answer?
You live forever if you're a Democrat. You literally live forever when you're a Democrat.
I'm on Social Security disability. I got hurt at work in 2008. I worked for another year. I came home from work one day, sat down on the couch, and I was paralyzed for the next 3 weeks. And I applied for Social Security disability while I was paralyzed. I didn't have to see a lawyer. I didn't have to see a doctor. I got it. I did have the 6 months wait. I don't know why people are having such a hard time with Social Security.
Well, now they ask what
at least the office here, they have some control freaks who got mad about I was going to appeal one of their decisions, and they threatened to cut me off if I did. But other than that, this office is relatively efficient. So I don't understand why everybody else is having a problem with them.
Well, I'll give you the answer to that one real quick. My friend is a Republican. He needs his Social Security. He's got lupus. He's got bad spinal damage. He can't work. He's got diabetes. He's got lots of issues. And for the past 6 years or 5 years, you know, Angel, he can't get Social Security at all because he's a Republican and a Cuban. He had to prove that he was an American. He had to prove that he was an American citizen. They did everything in the book to stop him and to delay the process even longer and longer and longer. Hopefully you'll die before you get your first check.
Well, I didn't have that, and I'm registered Republican.
California's.
Unfortunately, big government is always inefficient. And I take the stance that Reagan, had. The problem is the government, not the solution isn't the government.
No.
And this is the main big difference between
is that government is here to protect the weak from the bullies and to protect the commons from encroachment.
Yeah, but what happens when the government is the bully?
Yeah.
What happens when the government is the bully?
That's what we have the Second Amendment for.
Well, right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the bully wants to take away that.
Second Amendment.
Of course they do.
Right.
And the First Amendment. And
the
the Fourth
bully
Amendment.
always wants to take away your means of self-defense. So, I'm not arguing that point at all. And the major problem that I have with politics is that it doesn't seem to make any difference. The people behind the scenes that actually run the place are not elected in the first place. And the people who are elected are beholden to them. Now, I had a local person here. He was at that point a defense attorney. And he said that when you're elected to your first position, that they have a celebration party and that every vice in the community is available freely without charge. And that if you don't imbibe, they will spike your drink to make sure that you pass out. And they're so sweet, they put you in a bed. And you wake up the next morning with a photo of and you were unconscious, so you don't know if you did anything or not. Or worse, farther up the road, you might find a dead child in bed with you.
Hazing.
And you were unconscious, didn't do anything. But because they have this evidence, you're fucked for the rest of your life.
Hazing. And I think I don't think it's called government anymore. After Trump, I say it's called business.
That's
is corporate
what I think
business.
It's been all along.
But we call
since
it politics.
The beginning of this country and earlier. I personally think we're still living in feudalism. They're just giving us the illusion that we're in a democracy so that we don't fight back because we think we have rights. We don't.
We're not
The
a democracy.
fact that they're shutting us down, ending our businesses, destroying our lives with impunity tells me we have privileges. We don't have rights. And privileges can be revoked at any point.
Yeah, but it gets back to the point. What do we do about it, Penny? We have to go kinetic. The only answer to this is going kinetic. Talk is cheap. Kinetic is the only answer.
I understand.
I have thought about this for a long time, and there is only one solution to this.
I have been very careful what I actually say on record, online, because I'm old. I'm disabled. I won't survive prison.
Hold on, Penny. You going to prison? Hold on. You be with Ruby? Ruby? Big Ruby? Always a big Ruby in all them prison movies.
I'm sorry, guys. I have no problem with people who are gay or otherwise.
But Big Ruby, I can't deal with her.
I'm just not. I live with a man. I'm cishet.
But the point that I'm making is, Penny, is that a lot of the things that you're saying are true, or I agree with. But the thing is that there's not a solution. There's too many people talking and not enough people. I had this discussion with Leo. I had this discussion with Leo today, and I mentioned to him, I understand the whole idea of the info, the idea that this is a battle of information, a battle of people's minds and hearts and minds and all that. But the reality of the situation is no war is won by just information alone. You have to have some sort of kinetic. Now, information is intelligence.
You to understand, I am physically disabled. I am not going to get out here and tell other people to do what I cannot do myself.
No, but let's be honest with this, Penny. If you're saying that we don't have our civil liberties,
we don't.
All right, then what do we do about it?
There's only one thing we can do about it.
And what is that? What is it?
What
is it?
What impoverished people have always done. They take up their pitchforks against the local king and burn his ass out.
Well, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Put that because on a national scale, and you see how far the folks got January 6th.
Well, here's the problem with January 6th.
They need to be much, much more organized, and it needs to be across party lines because at the national level, the parties are working together.
We're starting. It's in some of these videos, it's showing destruction of World War II and all that.
Mm-hmm.
When early on in the beginnings of World War II, or just before the beginnings of World War II, there was countries that were trying to pacify.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There were individuals that were trying to keep the peace. They were afraid of another world war because they just got out of World War I, and they thought they could play patty cake.
They got out of World War I, and they were immediately plunged into the Great Depression, and people were literally starving to death.
Well, the Great Depression happened
in the world.
But the Great Depression happened in 1929. World War I ended in 1918, so it wasn't right away. You had the Roaring '20s first. But the point here is that there was people in power that actually served in World War I.
Uh-oh. Paul?
Uh-oh.
Paul's stuck.
Paul's stuck.
Oh, well, let me say it. There were people actually in World War I that were actually promoting the Depression, making it happen, i.e., like Prince Ferdinand and the rest of those guys in England. Paul, you're stuck. And last but not least, we need Douglas Dietrich. I hate to say that.
He's not up yet. He won't be up for another couple of hours.
He's moving. Dr. Paul, I feel the force. Let's all get together. Let's do the new age thing.
We could use Douglas Dietrich. He would stand here and go exactly the same place.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't it beautiful that there's so many like-minded individuals on this network that come on this network that actually see the setup? I mean, this is not about race. This is not about none of that crap that you have been thrown at you. It's not about. This is business.
That's all it is. It's business. And we, from their point of view, we are the means of production. And when the means of production gets to be too expensive, what do? They cut back. And that's what the bug is about, is cutting back the means of production because it's too expensive. And that's what people are not getting. Their lives are literally in danger because if the bug doesn't work, they're going to keep coming up with something else until something does work. Your lives are at risk. Find out how to defend yourselves and your families.
Well, they want to defund the police, so they want to defund your education. They want to defund your breathing. They want to defund your life. They want to defund your American experience. Oh, did I say the word American?
The infrastructure bill that's about to be passed includes spying on each and every one of us under the rationale of gaining data about how we drive. So, yes, this is a complete invasion of privacy in the means of figuring out exactly who we visit, where we go, how long we're gone,
Doesn't that sound like
while we're gone. This is a complete thing, and it's in the bill for the infrastructure.
But hold on, Penny. Doesn't that sound like having your little COVID travel card, Dr. Paul? The infrastructure bill.
Having a COVID your
because there's money being
your passport is just step one, and the step two is in the infrastructure bill, which is to track you everywhere and anywhere and amass that data so that they know who is necessary and who is not, because the entire end game is reducing the excess means of production.
Right, but if you're being told
fucking English, it means
I agree.
They're killing people.
Hold on.
On purpose.
Damn, Penny's hot. Penny got hot, Dr. Paul. This is rare to see Penny get hot. You know, her hair starts to spin a little bit. The statement.
You see my hair turn orange and I start.
Yeah. We don't want to see that, Penny.
All right, Daryl, what was the question?
The question is, with the travel card that they're going to give you for your COVID vaccine, we're going to say that out loud, forced not by your own free will to take. Now, that card is only good for New York, isn't it?
At this moment in time, the digital passport that we get when we show proof of vaccination, that digital card is only good for New York State.
Okay, it's for the state, not the city.
So now,
but it's for it's for New York State, and obviously New York City's inside New York State, so it's a subset. Now there is a New York City app that just works for the city and not for the state level. But most people are going to choose to use the digital passport at the state level because you have more access, right?
Yeah.
Right, but what's going to happen is that the corporations are going to piggyback off the state app and then just scan the QR code for that. Now, what will happen here, and different states have their different apps, and then eventually there's going to be a bill made in Congress that that will say, well, we're going to aggregate all this at a federal level. They've already mentioned that they are planning on announcing foreign travelers coming to the United States. They're going to have to prove that they were vaccinated. So it's already starting. The foreign travelers
on a plane or a train without proof of vaccination. So it's already being enforced nationwide.
Well, not nationwide. No. Wait. Penny. Hey, time.
You can't get on Amtrak without.
I know someone that took Amtrak today, and they didn't have to show. To New Haven.
To go to.
I know for a fact that you can take Penn Station to New Haven, Connecticut, without a vaccine passport.
I'll need to go.
Well, they're not letting us get on Amtrak here in California.
They're not.
Well, that's California. That's a different country.
Hey, what about Texas?
I'm sorry. I live in the most conservative district in the entire fucking country. My critter brags about being too conservative for the conservative caucus. So don't go talking about California being
The most conservative area in the country is
Yes.
right at the corner of Wall Street and Broad Street, at the NYSC building.
That's not a congressional district.
That would be eventually.
Really,
The most-
the country.
Hold on, my stock is going down. Y'all better tighten it up.
You want to change things in this world? That's who you have to take out.
Well, there was a funny story, back, during the whole Occupy Wall Street days. You remember?
I remember.
So there was this couple, all right, American couple, older, and they were visiting New York. All right, this is just after the Occupy Wall Street was pushed out, walking down the street. I was with my dog when this happened, and the lady, the wife, points to the building and she goes, "What's that building?" And the guy goes, "That's where they stole your money."
Pretty much.
Because of the whole Lehman, because this is right after Lehman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But
that was nice.
it's but
In a just world, Lehman would have been allowed to fail and end up in bankruptcy and would have been.
Well, Lehman was allowed to fail. This is the problem that would happen. One night before Lehman's failure, the Federal Reserve, the New York Fed, gathered the bankers, and the bankers were told who's going to buy Lehman, and none of them were willing to take it. J.P. Morgan wasn't willing to take it. Goldman Sachs wasn't willing to take it. So they wanted that house, that investment house, to fail. The bankers, because they thought at that moment in time, well, one less player
needs more money for them.
would mean more money for them. But they didn't realize the systemic risk that it would create.
They allowed to fail, and they sold it to West America.
Yeah, but that's different. I mean, they were, Lehman was allowed to fail. There was no backstop, and that's what caused the crisis. So,
Nobody wanted them, and I don't blame them. They were a mess.
Right. So now, during Lehman, if we didn't backstop, let's say, the automotive industry, we may have lost Detroit, GM, and
Detroit.
No, we haven't. So,
compared to what I remember it being in the 60s, we've lost Detroit.
I don't know if the 60s was. I mean, the thing is, well, in terms of what? In terms of
production,
the manufacturing
Yes.
in Detroit. Yeah, I agree with that. But it wasn't so much the loss in the 70s or 80s. It was primarily the writing of NAFTA and opening up manufacturing north of the border and south of the border.
The Reagan administration allowed American corporations to leave the United States and still be considered American. That was the beginning of the end. By the time Clinton was in office, he was just sealing the end. There is no coming back to a strong America as long as we have NAFTA and the other free trade agreements in effect. They were suicide for the United States.
The United States worker, not suicide for the United States investor.
Well, who do you want to support here?
It depends on if you're a transnational capitalist or you're a wage earner. If you're a transnational capitalist, if you're a wage earner in the United States.
If you want a strong nation that's not simply supported by the military.
You have better economic clustering if you have a strong manufacturing base in your country.
And
I've been a proponent of that.
We don't anymore. Because Reagan allowed them to move and Clinton allowed them to
Did you vote for Reagan?
Yes.
Or did you vote for Mondale?
Oh, hell, I had to go
voted
Reagan.
for Reagan.
Right.
I had to go Reagan. I can't lie. Reagan.
All right.
R&R. R&R, baby. Yeah. Big Ron.
I did vote for the guy with the big ears. You don't know who that is? Okay.
The big ears.
The
guy for the big ears.
What the hell was his name? He was.
Ross Perot.
Ross Perot.
Ross
yeah.
Perot.
I voted for Ross Perot.
We need microchips, not potato chips.
Exactly,
Perot
and he's
was a
right,
genius.
and that's what we're going to go to war with China over, is microchips.
Chips. With the quickness. Yeah, they
I don't
will.
think it's going to be as easy as that.
Yeah,
but
it is.
They're trying for Taiwan first.
They're swallowing it.
And
They're swallowing all the borders to Japan right now.
there are, if you have listened to Doug Dietrich and I talk about it, there are 3 places that they build microchips: Silicon Valley, South Korea, and Taiwan.
And don't forget, they get all the manufacturing products from Africa. Who owns most of Africa? China. Thank you, Don.
China. So this is the situation in why we are going to go to war, at least symbolically, with China, is because we're fighting over the Taiwanese computer chips.
Oh, we're not fighting. We're America. We're not fighting the Chinese. No, we don't have the balls. We don't have the literacy.
True. We don't have the balls, but they're doing a lot of saber rattling and threatening. And the situation is that the Chinese are starving. The Chinese are in serious decline because they listened to Kissinger and did the one-child policy. So they have 30 million men with no women for them because they killed off their baby girls.
Don't forget COVID.
And that was why they were so interested in releasing COVID, was because they thought it would make everybody else in the same mess that they are in. Now,
historically, when there's
they are fishing the South China Sea and irritating their neighbors.
No. Agreed. We get most of our food from China now, aren't we?
I hope not.
Are you sure?
Can you imagine
it? Not plastic.
Oh, Russia banned them. Russia banned Chinese foods because they found.
I wouldn't trust anything from China. Yeah, I wouldn't trust anything from China, no matter what it is. I had to go there. Hey, I'm a Norwegian. I don't care. The thing is that the Chinese, we are moving more towards the probability of a 21st century China.
That's what I thought the goal was China for everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, at least we can get some cheap
that's
land.
What it looks like.
And this is the problem with wokeism, is that we've lost in the United States the competitive edge. We've lost the capacity at the aggregate level to be critical in our thinking capacity.
That's what
and now
nobody can think anymore. They look at things and they feel instead of think.
No, hold on, you're disturbing me. I got to go and drink this elixir right here because it's the only thing that can save me, Penny, because I might have to go get me some hot cocoa with some marshmallows. I was there during the election. I was there.
You have lived through my show for a whole year. By the way, guys, this is my anniversary show.
Yes, it is.
And I have Dr. Paul Cottrell here. Come on, I want to hear cheers.
Yay! More liquor. More weed. More drugs. No, I don't read books. Give me video games. Made in China. Literacy. I can't read Chinese. It's okay.
I've got a book I've got to send you in Messenger. You're going to love it.
Oh, How to Read Chinese in 15 Easy Steps? I can't read that either.
No, it's
too many words.
John Werner 4.
Oh.
His book called Little Anton. It's historical fiction, mostly historical, about the Porsche family.
What really interested in, I would love to sit here and find out if Dr. Paul could actually tell me why is it that this country has actually just accepted being stupid And
the thing is it's about convenience. It probably starts right after World War II, and around the 50s, there was this push, the consumerism and this convenience. Homemade food stopped, and then it was TV dinners and canned food, and
that was because women were put in the workforce. But
there was and there was just this loss in the erosion. To your point, Penny, the erosion of the family unit.
Yeah.
You don't have
the family unit, the erosion of the school system. There was nobody there to make sure Johnny did his homework.
It's Common Core. Common Core made us stupid.
Oh my
God. Oh, no, you can't repeat after me.
I look at what my grandchildren were assigned for homework, and it's like, ugh. And my oldest is in college now. My oldest granddaughter. Oh yes. I keep telling you guys I'm 65. You're not listening. I have a grandchild, graduated from high school. So, my grandson is still in high school. Yeah.
But how old is your grandson?
16, and he's addicted to vaping cannabis. So I don't hold a whole lot of hope for his future. Unless,
no, he's already been.
He's already been one.
I mean, there's already an age restriction.
He's already been affected.
Fight one day, and I lost my cool and informed him that he had no honor, and he had no idea what I was talking about.
Because people, that generation, they're being trained not to have honor. They're being trained to not to have that can-do spirit and push forward and be entrepreneurial and move the country into a better direction.
To mean something. It used to mean that you did what needed to be done, whether it was comfortable or not. Now it's not serving me, so why should I?
I can't work at McDonald's because they don't pay me $14.95 an hour. Hold on, I'll go to this state. They pay $23.
McDonald's is replacing all those people with robots.
So guess what, people? You just felt stupid.
And
Taco Bell did. They did it too.
And it's not going to be long before Walmart joins them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's always going to be White Castles.
I can't do it.
I have had White Castles when I was out of state.
Oh my God, they're so good.
And I will be honest, Carl's Jr. has them beat hands down.
What? Did she say Carl's Jr.?
I've never had Carl's
Jr.
Carl's Jr.
Now I used to like Whataburger.
I never heard of that one.
What do they call it out there? It's a burger joint. I can't remember the name of it out west.
Well, out west we have out here.
Jack in the Crack.
Yeah, Jack in the Box.
Yeah, Jack in the Crack.
You don't eat Jack in the Box because they water down their hamburgers with oatmeal and
sawdust.
We all know this. Only real crackheads eat there. So now they're going to be mad at my show because I'm telling the truth. Carl's Jr. is actually really good. And no, I have never worked there. I have 3 grown kids that when they were in high school, they worked for Burger King and Carl's Jr. None of them worked at Jack in the Crack. Daryl, you're dying. And my youngest, when he was working for Burger King, his immediate supervisor had retired from the Marines and had been a drill sergeant. And I had a nice little talk with her, and I said, look, I don't want my kid to be a dick. So I would appreciate it if instead of firing him, you teach him how to be a good worker.
Make a man out of him.
She says, I'm getting parental consent. And I go, yes. And that kid is now the best worker you can imagine. Yes, he's union. Yes, he works for Safeway. But he works full time in an industry where part time is the norm.
They made
So-
a man out of him. Yeah.
Made a man out of him, and he didn't even have to be a Marine.
Yeah. Man out of can do, motherfucker, can do.
It's simple. Parents are a lot of the problem. They coddle these kids.
That's
They
right.
never teach them to work. They never get comfortable. They never
Discipline.
teach them to learn to get along for the good of the group. They only teach them, I don't like that, therefore you have to stop it.
I don't want to eat macaroni and cheese tonight. You're going to have to
Well,
go to the
you
store
know,
and get
if
me fried
if
fish.
somebody is physically or sexually assaulting you, they're within their rights. But if it's something that is a matter of opinion, what the fuck? You don't have to argue every point.
Only in America.
Oh well.
I had to do that. I'm sorry. That was my movie. Only in America. We lose our own underwear. Why? Because we go to the military. We're going to get some dress. Only in America. Hot damn it. We're going to make you strong. But I don't want to
And
be.
you've got JFK in your background, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, I know.
That's a real man.
Well, the thing is that we are in this continuum of deep history in our country. We're a piece of this deep history, and how we navigate through this crisis, this COVID crisis, and our civil liberty crisis, is going to determine what kind of country we're going to have to pass to the future generations. Now,
And
my thought is that we have to.
We're going to deregulate drugs. Let's make them all legal. Only in America.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I would go along with making them all legal for the simple reason that every country that has stopped having a drug problem.
But in this country, we have an addiction problem, even to marijuana. So only in America, God.
My take on this whole issue is that we need to get back to a conservative mindset to save this country. And that means that you have to curtail the usage of these substances. I'm in medical school, second year medical student, and we are trained in these drugs that are becoming legalized.
And addictive.
Are addictive. They're gateways to stronger substances. Even if it's legal, it doesn't mean it is.
Well,
Emphysema is still going to continue. Wait, hold on. Finish. Let me finish.
If you make it where they are responsible,
You can't teach
their
responsibility.
own addiction.
No. Penny, it doesn't work like that.
You
Doesn't
can't
work
teach
like that.
responsibility.
So the thing is that when people are taking these substances, it's going to cause the COPD. It's going to cause disruption in their house. Is going to be less aggressive, so you won't. He's not going to be protective of his family. He's not going to have. He's going to be docile.
Mm-hmm.
The government wants this to happen so they can roll in their agenda.
And pharmaceuticals
There is no mistake of the rollout of the legalization of marijuana and what's going on with COVID-19. They are one of the same. It's part of a larger play that's going on.
Pot was not illegal until in the 1930s.
It doesn't.
And it has been in full swing use the entire time.
Where are we at with this country? We have a bunch of
It would have been there
knobheads.
anyway.
We have a bunch of knobheads. That are willing to realize that if we don't wake up from this slumber, we are going to lose our country, our constitutional rights, and the heritage that we inherited when we were born into this country. And we need to step up and say no. And we're going to bring back the country, and it's going to be a 21st century USA and not a 21st century China. What is happening to America right now is no different than what was happening to the opium wars back couple hundred years in the 1800s.
Oh, we've been
All right,
having
where so this
we've
whole
been
fentanyl,
having opium wars ever
yeah,
since then.
Penny,
The CIA
there is no doubt that the
controls it.
fentanyl
That's what
crisis is the
Vietnam
reverse
was
of the
about.
opium war. They're weakening America
The
for
weekend.
21st century China. And so when you legalize these substances, no matter what
But
level
Reagan was who allowed these substances to
No,
be sold into
it
the
wasn't
inner
Reagan.
America.
It wasn't Reagan. It was Bush.
CIA.
Bush Senior, because it was CIA. Right. This was this was what was funding the
Reagan
covert
was
operations.
President, and he was
Reagan
where
was
the
Reagan.
buck stops.
Reagan's the figurehead.
Reagan didn't know what Bush Senior was doing, because Bush Senior was doing it way before Reagan was even president. So this it's not Reagan. It was Bush Senior. And it's no coincidence that a lot of this drug running was going right through Arkansas, and it so happened to be Bill Clinton, the governor, that was the next in line.
Flying it out.
Yeah, exactly. So,
that
but
was
the
why
thing is that
Waco was killed off, was because the Branch Davidian people were keeping a record of the plane flights that were not about drugs, but were about human trafficking.
I don't know about Waco. I don't know anything about it other than that, the FBI was, and the SWAT team was way too aggressive and burnt down those. Yeah, they charred those individuals.
They did not allow those individuals to surrender.
They should have never
doing anything illegal. It was consenting adults and their children. And I'm sorry, but I thought we had the right to bear arms.
And it's
Buying
Texas.
weapons is not illegal.
And it's Texas.
They were not doing anything illegal in the Branch Davidians. They were a religious group on their own property, all consenting adults, and the only thing that they were accused of doing was what? They had weapons.
But hold on.
Well, we have a Second Amendment right to have weapons.
But hold on, Penny. With the new law in Texas, all those people that were arrested during the time of Waco had to be released. Oops.
All of them had to be released because they weren't doing anything wrong. The ones that were murdered by the FBI, there was no legal justification for it. It was the FBI covering up human trafficking at the airport next door to their property, because they were keeping records of the planes, the plane numbers, and the numbers of people that were being trafficked. That was why they were killed. And that was all under the Clinton administration, and they were in charge of the FBI. So whether the Clintons personally knew about it or not, there the buck stops with them.
But drugs in this country is weakening the minds of the
They
individuals.
didn't have drugs at Waco. They had
No, but that's not the point.
vision.
Penny, that's not the point. The main part of this part of this session here is drugs seem to be causing an accelerated erosion.
We would have had the drugs whether we had them legal or illegal.
But not everybody would have had them.
Because we had them before they were illegal.
By legalizing marijuana,
them the entire time they were illegal. You cannot illegal plant.
Penny.
They illegal.
You're wrong.
No, wait.
They illegalized poppies.
Can certain substances be therapeutic under certain guidance? Yes. Are there therapies that the marijuana plant could provide for glaucoma and other diseases? Yes. That's why we have MDs. It should be a controlled substance.
So you like regulation for medicine, but not for other things.
I don't believe that people have the discipline to not be addicted.
I.e., look at the inner cities.
You look at inner cities before
with these dispensaries that are coming up,
drugs there.
Penny, the country went straight to hell because of flower power.
Yes.
Because of the Vietnam era and because of this free love bullshit and this flower power crap. And that's why this country lost its edge. That's why we lost the Vietnam War. And these soldiers did come back and they were spat on.
War because we were not fighting
Penny,
the war.
I'm talking, Penny. We lost that war because we lost our fighting edge, and it's been a slow deterioration of.
We didn't fight the war.
We should have fought the war.
That was my generation. I know.
Right.
I listened to the men after they came back. They would fight 20 times over the same hill because they would fight, they would die, and as soon as they had it, the bosses would tell them, "Well, go back down the hill and give it back to them." We didn't fight that war. It was a complete slaughter of American boys for absolutely no fucking reason.
The war was executed poorly.
The war was on purpose to reduce the American population.
On the state side,
and we understood that, and that's why we put a stop to it.
60,000 people dying in a war is not
60,000
reducing.
Americans
Yeah, but the
dying
thing
in
is
a
that
war,
it's not going to reduce the population.
2 million Vietnamese.
Don't
yeah,
forget
but
the
at
French
that time,
that were there
the
before
world was
them.
probably about 4 billion. So that's a very, very, very small percent. SARS-CoV-2 during that crisis, during the Vietnam crisis.
But you're blaming us for
no. What I'm saying is that that generation, this baby boom generation that you're talking about, was the beginnings of the erosion of loss of that can-do spirit. And that flower power crap that came out of the 60s is now fast forward and more potent now in 2021.
That's where you get.
And now we have a bunch of kids that are on crack and on meth and all this crap, and now we have to deal with all the social costs because of it. And I'm telling you that this country is going to go straight to fucking hell because of what is being proposed. That you just open up these dispensaries and you just buy as much pot as you want.
Hell, let's just open up the borders.
If you want it chocolate flavored, yeah, that's okay. And if you want it vanilla flavored, that's okay. You know what? The reality of the situation is this. The science is saying it's addictive. The science is saying that it's destructive. And just the observation for the last 40 years since flower power is that it eroded and destroyed this country. And we need to go back to back to our roots, start observing religion, start having this sense of country, this sense of trying to build a better future, and not this self-entitled woke bullshit that's out there now.
Wow,
flower power is a major reason why this country went straight to hell. Now we have an enemy that literally is leaking biological weapons on us. Even though we were part of making the system, we are ushering in a 21st. We are ushering in a 21st century. We are ushering in a 21st century China, and that is an existential threat to our constitutional freedoms and the way of life that I was born into. And it is our responsibility to make sure that a 21st century China does not happen. Because if they're successful, then other countries are going to use them as a model for tyranny. And if we do not stop them now, then we are going to lose our country. And I'm going to blame all that flower power children, starting in the baby boom generation. The baby boom generation is what started this bullshit.
Literally.
It wasn't the greatest generation didn't have this problem. The baby boom generation was afraid to get in the boat and do the sacrifice. That's what happened. And then what did they do? They decided to just be a bunch of potheads. And now what has happened is now we're having legislation passed at the state levels that are just gonna just pacify the country. Just buy all the pot you want. It's okay. And then you're going to have pulmonary problems, you're going to have heart disease, and you're going to have a society that can't think for their own. We already mentioned that this is a major problem.
Already there.
Well, the thing is you got to stop it from getting worse. The answer isn't more pot. The answer is you need to have religion in your life. The answer is you got to have you need a backbone. You need discipline. Maybe even mandatory 2-year or 3-year military service,
like Russia does.
So you're fine with all that regulation.
Russia does it, and their people are still progressing and growing. America stopped.
I'll tell you, I think that there is something to be said about a society that has discipline, and we do not have discipline, and we need someone to start whipping these kids into shape. I mean, the obesity's all over the place. It's catastrophic. You having children that are 15, 16, 17 years old that
13.
have severe heart disease now. It's because of discipline. It starts.
Has nothing to do with what's in the food.
You don't eat the GMO, you don't get the disease. The problem here is there's no discipline to go in the resistance direction. What they do is they always pick the easy route. That is the essence of this. If you say that the baby boom generation is as good as the greatest generation, you're 100% wrong on that. And then when we say that the current generation that's out there, that in the 16 range, 18 range, they're anywhere close to the greatest generation, they may be classified as the worst generation. And so for us to make sure that we maintain our hegemonic power and maintain our civil liberties and not have this world in a ball of fire, the best thing that we can do is add discipline to these kids. So it's not about regulation, it's about bringing back that whole Protestant worth ethic. Where's the worth ethic today?
Nowhere.
We have lost it because we have a bunch of potheads. We have a bunch of people I want to feel good. I don't want anything that bugs me. I don't want anything that hurts my feelings. I don't want anything that is disruptive. No. We need to save this country. We need people that are learning calculus. We need people that are staying in school. We need people that are saying, you know what? There's nothing wrong with praying to God. We need, the idea of country first, not pot first. And what we have now is a bunch of people that are saying, you know what? It's okay. It's just Dr. Feelgood, man. Dr. Feelgood, it's okay. Dr. Feelgood, it's okay. My grandmother said that flower power's good. So I'm just gonna believe what my grandmother said.
What happened when the bomb dropped?
Bullshit. We lost this country in the 60s because of the things that were happening with the young baby boomers at that time. That's what happened. You don't want to admit to it. That's just self-denial. But the bottom line is this: we have to reverse course, because if you keep on going down this road, we're going to lose the country that my grandfather fought for, and it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. If you like it or not, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is this: having a society that is on drugs habitually is going to let the tyranny continue. We have to stop the tyranny. The only way to stop it is to reverse course.
Well, sorry to interrupt you again.
Wow.
But we are now into Ramona's time. She hasn't shown up yet.
No, she doesn't. She's not doing a show tonight. But
you could have told me about that.
Well, I mean, I got a little show I can throw in behind it for her. But I'm really interested in this because if they give us legalized drugs all over this country, and we already got a bunch of addicts running around,
yeah,
what's going to happen?
You know what will happen? What has happened in other countries where it's
But we're in America, though.
Removes the forbidden fruit. It removes it being cool. And suddenly, you only have the addicts doing the drug, and they can usually be treated. And if they
you're causing such a threat to the society.
But The threat's already there. You've still
yeah, but it's going to get
almost had
far
it.
worse. It's going to be far worse.
It didn't in Portugal. It didn't
yeah.
in London.
Do you have any idea how big the United States is, Penny? Holy shit! And you're trying to compare us to Portugal?
Test case.
You can't.
That's
That's an external fallacy. You're talking. The size of the country and the problem. You do know that it's the United States is preventing a nuclear detonation in the world, not Portugal. You do understand that.
You do understand that not everybody is stuck lockstep in with us, and that things have been tried in other countries, and that we could at least look at the results.
Flower power is what destroyed America, and flower power is going to continue to destroy America. And the only way to stop that is to change course and to bring religion and discipline to the family. That's the only way this is going to stop.
Freedom of religion is in the First Amendment.
The freedom of religion is in the First Amendment. Right. But the point that I'm making is,
we have a right to believe whatever we want.
Yeah,
and
but
you are forcing everyone into Protestant work ethic. So
what's wrong with the Protestant work ethic? It's what built the country. It's what built the country.
You made a really big deal about how that you didn't like regulations. Regulation.
Penny, I did not say that all regulation is bad.
I'm only at the tail end of, because I was the last high school class that was drafted for Vietnam. You're blaming me, my people, for
your people
wrong with the country.
I do believe that the baby boom generation was the catalyst that put us in this direction.
No,
where we are losing the battle.
It was your greatest generation who raised the baby boomers.
That's true.
Yes.
That's
I
very
was
true.
going to
That's
say
very true.
that, but I'm not going to open my mouth yet. I'm gonna have fun.
You're right. You're right. Maybe they should have never had you guys.
The greatest generation was that they won World War II whenever Japan and Germany did. And that's why you have every major corporation in the country.
Japan didn't win World War II. Japan did not win World War II.
On the board of directors is because the Germans in Antarctica actually won. And if you check, why did we pay war reparations to Japan? Why did we clean up the atomic weapons drop sites? Why did we repair their country if they lost?
We do that all the time.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the reconstruction.
Really?
Effort. Yeah, I mean that was
the we reconstruct whenever we go in.
Wow, we got Ramona here now. Everybody's having a ball. Go for it, everybody. I'm sitting back here. Let me see if I get Leo Zagami to come in.
Give you time to plug your stuff before Ramona's show.
She ain't got a show. Everybody have fun. Let's just go for this history note and get some knowledge in. Because, I mean, this is getting interesting. You're kind of right. That generation before. But, I mean, I'm looking at how it all got set up.
Yeah, it was the generation before that raised us. They're the ones that taught us that we had feelings. They were
what
the ones
is it? Or is it that
thinking? They were the ones that let us do whatever we want until gasp. We turned into hippies, so they had to change the school system so that the next generation wouldn't be hippies.
I still hold the belief that the hippies destroyed the country.
Changing the school system is what destroyed the country.
I think it was basically
because people can't think. There have always been druggies among us.
Yep.
Always. There have always been addicts among us. Drugs were not even illegal.
Yeah, but do you think? But if you look at the last 10 years or 15 years, do you think that the country is becoming more conservative in terms of values and worth ethic, or less?
I don't think conservatism matters. I think it has to do with your personal work ethic, regardless of your religion. Because I know Jewish people that are just as work ethic as your Protestants you brought up. I know Muslim people that are just as work ethic as you brought up. I don't think your religion matters. I think it has to do with
I never said it was. I never said it was.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I
said that people need to have more religion in their life so that there isn't an erosion of the family unit. Because I believe that the loss of religion is what's starting
with the religion, as long
I do.
both parties in the marriage.
Religious observance is highly correlated to more functional families and more.
Have the same religion.
But whose religion?
Not what the religion is.
No, just religion in general. Just religion in general. It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters which. As long as the family
you said Protestant work ethic.
Well, I said Protestant work ethic is what started the country.
At least 3 times.
Yes,
so
Protestant work ethic is what started the country. Because those were the ones that were the
what?
Yes, it was.
They were Freemasons.
Oh, so
the Protestant work ethic is what started
this country were Freemasons.
Yeah, they were. They were.
The ones, wait.
Freemasons and atheists and
atheists.
The Dutch that came over to colonize, or not even colonize at that time. It was the Dutch.
You're starting with the Dutch? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You're in New Amsterdam. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, I mean, the center of the universe is New York City, Penny. Hello.
No,
the center of the universe is New York City.
New York City is the asshole of the planet.
I thought it was LA. I thought it was LA.
The rest of us would not miss it if it disappeared.
I thought it was LA.
Same difference.
Okay. Maybe Seattle.
Any large city over 1 million people is an asshole area. People were not developed to live in large cities. We were developed to live on farms.
There is a benefit of being in nature for sure. I definitely think that living in cities causes additional stress that we weren't involved. We didn't evolve into.
You off your roots. Your roots are in the ground.
The point that I was making is that the point I was making, Penny, is that the country is losing its will for discipline. It's losing its will to push forward.
Lost its roots.
Perhaps the reason why is because people are seeing so much deceit in those that profess to be Christian and God-fearing people that are ruling the country, that they have lost anything that they are a part of. And so
people have gotten used to being lied to by everybody, by government, by the media, by the religious figures, by everybody. That's why you're seeing people leave in droves. That's why the Christian denominations are losing membership. It's because they're tired of being lied to. You start telling people the truth, and they'll flock to you.
Well, I mean,
what kind of audience do I have? Because I'm speaking the truth. Now,
well, is that big T or little T? I mean, big T or little T? I mean, there's truth and there's big truth, I come from the standpoint.
I've been verified by the CIA agent who uploaded.
But I'm not talking about CIA. I'm not talking about that. What I mean by big truth is like there is a universal truth.
There is,
and then there are facts, and there are facts in our day-to-day lives.
And you have locked into this conservative worldview, and you are not seeing that there is anything else out there.
No, what I'm saying is that when you don't have discipline, When you don't have
When you
discipline, you
don't
don't have a
see
society that's you're gonna lose the hegemonic power that we gained after World War II.
So basically, we
Does
got to
Does
start back.
hegemonic power? Does hegemonic power actually matter that
Yes,
much?
especially when when the whole world is a house of cards that could
We
fall very
are
quickly with
The
nuclear weapons.
only first world power left.
And
And
we're gonna
we
qualify.
are spending
Not
10
really.
times more money on the military than the next closest country. And you're worried about our hegemony? You're worried about us, our leadership? Our
Yeah.
leadership is at each other's throats,
Well,
and
it's true.
we're allowing our corporations to leave the country and take the jobs with them. So you're ending up with all we are still good at is military. Now, you have to decide, are we a republic or are we an empire? And if we are an empire, which is what you're describing, how are we any better than China? Because we're going through and destroying the world in the name of corporate profits.
I
We-
think that
Our prosperity has been on the backs of the third world. And we're now at a point where everything we do is starting to bite us in the ass. Now, is that our personal karma? It could be.
well,
And
has
blaming-
America done nefarious
blaming
things?
it
Yes, of
on-
course. But
And
my,
still
the,
doing
but the
it.
con-
one
yeah.
generation thinking that maybe there was a better way is not a fair evaluation.
I still hold the truth that the baby boom generation was the catalyst of the
didn't-
erosion of the
No,
productive.
their parents were.
Your parents.
Their
No, I mean,
parents were for raising them to believe they were exceptional when they were average. And every generation since then has raised their children to believe that they were exceptional when they're average. It's okay to be average. It is.
So Paul, you wanted to go back to before the baby boomers.
Yeah.
no.
we
I
want to go
don't.
back to the
No.
generation
What
that
what I
didn't
want-
won World War II and did.
No. That's not what I said. What I want is a country that has more of a desire to push and explore and be productive, be a productive population, be productive for your family.
You cannot
And
be
that-
productive for your family when the jobs are not here anymore.
They've been
Yeah, but that's
shipped
where
out.
the entrepreneurship comes in. People
How?
wanting to build businesses.
But that isn't an
The,
equal
the,
footing for everyone.
the playing ground
Wait.
is not level. It's not set up for
Exactly.
entrepreneurs. It's set up for those who are already in monopoly positions to maintain them. And those people
I think
have
it's
taken
it's
the
it's a
jobs
it's a
out of the
mindset.
country.
It's a mindset.
That's what
If
I
you see
told
the
you,
opportunity, then
that's
then
what
you'll be able
you-
to find it.
That's
If you
what
see the
I'm
opportunity-
telling you is that you're in a mindset that doesn't see what anybody else is telling you.
I see opportunity all the time, and why people
there's
don't capitalize on that.
But you have a
There's
PhD in
opportunity.
finance, and that means you have access to resources the rest of us don't.
And there needs to be finance in order to bring those businesses or whatever to fruition.
Right?
But if you are not going to be treated and looked at fairly as the next person, then what the hell what you just said is null and void, because it's for certain people. Every now and then you'll get a benevolent lender who
Mhm.
will take a chance and go against what they're being told. Because I used to work in banking. But everybody, make no mistake, everybody does not have a blind, like a person is sitting there with blinders on and just reading the black and white script on the application to get these loans. And granted, some people don't have a good business plan because they're not really taught that. They don't teach you that in school.
But what's the problem with saving money and not having to borrow for
in order
a business
to
venture?
Save money, you have to have jobs, Paul. You cannot be that naive. Because even in the small town,
you have to have surplus income after you paid the rent, bought the groceries,
and collateral,
taking care of the kids. You have to have surplus income in order to save money. And most people at my level are barely breaking even. And most months they're falling in the hole. How do you save money when, okay, my Social Security check is $840 a month. My rent is $875. If I were living by myself, I would be homeless. How is a person like me supposed to save money in order to have collateral for a loan?
When prices and everything else has gone up, everything but a person's salary. And then also, too, you look at towns like the one that I live in, out in the country. Now, the jobs for the kids getting out of school, even though we're surrounded by universities that are within 40 miles, is null and void because they don't let certain companies, they won't let the fast food place come in and give the kids some working experience. There's no downtown anymore for people to work in jobs.
Our biggest employer in my county is the local casino. And they are paying just above minimum wage for most of their positions. And you have to be 18 to have a job.
Yeah, but the thing is
that's the major employer in my area.
Yeah,
1,500 employees. And after that, you're talking Walmart, Lowe's, McDonald's. These are the employers here. How can you expect someone who is stuck at minimum wage to be able to save money?
But you can use credit cards that are unsecured debt.
You can't get a credit card if you're working for minimum wage.
People, with the way the banks work, they don't want to give you a business loan because they earn more interest on a credit card.
But
so you can finance your business off of a credit card.
They won't give you a credit card if you're at a minimum wage job.
That's not true.
No matter how
That's
much
not true. That's not true. You may not get a lot of collateral, but the thing is that it's stepped. When you're flying a plane, when you fly a plane
at 35% interest
and $200 limit,
and you have to have that $200 sitting in their bank. And you're basically borrowing your own money and paying 35% interest off of it. And how is a person supposed to get ahead on that? This is what it's like in our part of the world.
Well, if there's a will, there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way.
It's not a level playing field.
If there's a will, there's a way.
Now, if you want this country to be productive, that's where you start. Start letting poor people have the business loans to start.
I agree with that. Business loans banks need to open up the spigot and provide loans to minorities and low income areas. I totally agree with that. I think that's an important feature of this. But
on a computer at this point, it's all fiat money. They're not even printing the cash anymore. It's just digits on the computer. It won't do them any harm. And yet they're not allowing the lower classes who have ideas to have a chance to do them. And then you're blaming them because they get frustrated and smoke pot.
Well, I do think that pot smokers aren't usually productive. And not only that, it is a fact. It's a gateway. It's a fact that it causes emphysema. It's a fact that it's not good for you. And not only that, you don't even know what you're getting. I mean, because it's not.
Have you been to any of the Silicon Valley programming shops?
Have I ever been?
All of those programmers are
Potheads,
right, and caffeine heads. They are so hyped up between pot and caffeine, and they are the ones writing all the software.
Well, that might be the reason why there's so many bugs and why they crash all the time. So if you want to try to spin that being a pothead makes the society more productive, I think you're dead wrong. And I think that the evidence is
spin that you're blaming the wrong people.
Well, I think that there's multitude of reasons why this country is decaying from within.
Okay.
Multitude of reasons. But a big part of it.
One generation of people who are.
No, I didn't. I said that the catalyst. It started during the Vietnam era with the baby boomers, with the whole flower power. That's how this whole conversation started.
But that only lasted for like a couple of years.
That only lasted.
So how did that have such a big impact?
I mean, as far as I could tell,
it only lasted
other than ending the war, we were a total failure.
Yeah, well, of course, since World War II, actually. Even when the Korean War.
It's the folks from World War II and the Korean War who raised us that are at fault. And you're trying to make them into some sort of heroes.
Yeah, but with your logic, I might as well just blame Adam and Eve. There's always one generation before that caused the problem. Right? Well, so it must have been Adam and Eve eating off the apple that caused the whole problem.
Now you're just getting ridiculous.
Well, I mean, ridiculousness is...
I think the problem lay in the laws that were implemented in this country, that when they could no longer get free labor. Remember that, right? That made this country rich.
I remember.
You remember that, right?
Well, minimum wage is a form.
People working for 400 years, putting money in someone else's pocket, and they couldn't even buy a freaking house wherever they wanted. You remember that, don't you?
It's called Jim Crow.
That was implemented.
For anybody that doesn't understand why she's saying 400 years, because Jim Crow was an extension of the free labor. And yes, it was anyone that they considered to be indigent, whether they were or not, and they would simply pick them up, put them in prison.
And work them for free.
Because
that's our history.
The 14th Amendment said that you had no slavery except for those who were in prison. So they would pick them up, put them in prison, and use them as free labor. And this is still going on.
Yeah, it is.
This is what illegal drugs is about, is providing free labor through the prison system. And that's why some of us are so against it.
Yeah. And they do have free labor in prisons. That's the underbelly of this country.
Well, on the other side, now that my turn, I'm coming in for the fight now. Y'all got it fucked up. Now.
What happened to Paul?
Oh, he had to go. He has a meeting.
He's been bumped offline a couple of times.
Yeah, but I think he has a meeting at 7:30. Here's the other side of it. Now, everybody can say it's free labor, which it was. I don't give a damn. Personally, honestly, I would have taken the free labor my damn self. But now that I'm here, let's have some real fun. I think the whole shit's fucking bullshit from the beginning. Let me get my liquor going.
Oh Lord. I mean, but check this out. Now, during the baby boomers, okay.
Y'all
See, work. Hold on. The work that most of the people of color in this country could get, like my grandmother, working in some white lady's house for 5 cents. 5 cents a load during the work and stuff.
So the bottom line, huh?
And when they were allowed to get jobs, when the civil rights bill
your mic's off.
when the civil rights bill was passed, they were able to start finally working normal jobs if someone would hire them. But before that, they had to work in houses so that even those of the lowest middle class whites could have maids and housekeepers.
My family didn't have maids. My family was out picking cotton. So.
Well, my great-great-great-grandfather fought in the Civil War on the Union side next to Grant and saw at Appomattox the surrender of General Lee. So, I don't understand the argument. I really don't, because what I understand is hard work gets you somewhere.
Yeah.
That's what I understand. I don't understand anything other than that.
And
hard work gets you somewhere.
And these people do not know how to do no hard work. These kids don't know nothing about no hard work.
Exactly.
Listen,
exactly.
all right, Ramon, go get me some kids to go mess with the horses with you. Oh, hold on. What? Hey, it's going to be some old guy like me and Paul that's going to be out there helping you. Find me some young guys that are going to do anything.
Yeah,
hell, I can't even get my damn 25, you're going to be 26-year-old son to cut
the
goddamn
ones that
grass.
They're out there working their own farms and stuff.
That's right.
I'm in farm country.
They doing their own.
But I'll tell you one thing.
Go to the inner city and go get some. Go to the inner city and get some strawberry pickers.
Finding somebody to mow.
Right.
And that's why they're letting all the illegals in.
That's how I made my money growing up.
My partner is 72, and he is the apartment manager here.
Yeah.
And he only gets paid for the hourly work that he does that the landlady has approved ahead of time. So he is getting paid to mow the lawn.
How about this?
Most months.
Let me make it easier. Say you're on a farm, right? Go to the cities. Go out the country. Go find me some kids that would do strawberry picking. How about this? Avocados.
You can't get white folks to do that.
Thank you. So guess what they had? The new slave. What is it called?
The immigrant.
Prisoners.
Bringing in the immigrants across the border.
Immigrants. And now they're bitching about the immigrants, which means that all those farmers who
And
are
why is it that we
relying
have to take
on those workers are ending up losing everything.
Yeah, you know why? Because they're blocking the border. So now you can't get nobody in the country to do the damn job. And you can't get the immigrant to come over here that can be legalized unless you sponsor them. Unless you sponsor them.
Out of the prisons on the work.
Unless you sponsor them. Don't forget the prisoners. The prisoners ain't coming on your personal property working on farm. So
you don't need anybody on your personal property.
So now you got
if you have a farm, you have people working there.
Really? So hold on. You just got busted because all the workers were immigrants and they are illegal.
Not necessarily. They have big family people with big families. In that family,
hold on, we're talking Texas. Hold on, we're
Right.
not talking Texas. We're talking, say, California. Texas, no, you ain't having that shit.
I don't know about that.
You ain't having that shit in Texas.
Well, the thing is all the farmers in Texas, all the workers are a bunch of potheads and they don't want to work because they're just smoking weed.
So that's why we go get us a bunch of immigrants to do the damn job while we sit back and puff, pass.
Right.
All right, deal. Hold on, somebody go get that big old pipe over there. All right.
And then all of a sudden they decide, well, maybe I need to have a job, and then they, and they're not paying attention, and they put their hand in the machine, and then they lose it because it's all, all cut up. we need a country that has a stronger work ethic. I think
We have
everyone
no
on the
work
panel
ethic
here
here.
could admit that there is a lost work ethic in the United States.
There is a lost work ethic. I mean, if you're not having to do it or forced to do it, you ain't doing
Well,
jack
gee,
shit.
I'm on
There's no
disability.
desire.
I don't have to be
my
here in front of this
degree.
computer
And
all
guess
day.
what? I'm still doing my weekly radio show.
I don't have
Thank
to be in
Carol.
front of it either. And I just, guess what? It's not what I have to do. Hell, I make plenty on my damn, military disability. I got good money coming on that side. I got, money over here. I got my property outside the country. I'm happy I got property down south.
So
I ain't
on
gotta
your
worry about it.
panel, you've got 2 disabled people that are working anyway.
Gotta
Well,
work.
yeah, but the thing is that's not what's going on in this new generation
Well,
that's popping
Maybe by the
up.
time they get to our
We were
age,
talking
then-
about the
But-
new generation that's popping up.
Well, the question should be
What
actually.
are you defining the new generation as popping
I don't
up?
even know what you call them. Z,
Z-
Gen Z,
I
or
call 'em a
millennials.
bunch
I
of
don't even know
weak
what
ass-
they're called.
I call them a bunch of weak ass sons of bitches because I can tell you, my son is a weak ass son of a bitch. My son won't even cut his grandmother's yard, and he stays there. That's why he's getting kicked out this month. I mean, the bottom line, I sat there and I was like, Mom, it's been a year since your yard been cut. Hold on, a year. This is your generation y'all talking about, 25 and up. 21 to 25. Let's go. They keep it 21 to 29. How about that? Right in
Now-
the middle. That's what
Now,
they're like.
if you look at the
No, you're
more
gonna you're gonna say
at the,
maybe
at
you
the
need to go
Church
do it.
of Latter-day Saints,
They
more.
work.
out here,
They work. They come to help
was
you.
part of that church.
They come. No,
and they come and they help the kids.
Yes.
Are brought up with work ethics.
they're taught work ethics.
My
I was brought up with
granddaughter
work
is
ethics.
not even
Their
21,
parents-
and she's going to college, and she's holding down a part-time job.
Shit, when I was in college,
So
I held
you
down
can't-
2
you
jobs
can't-
and
I had
parties.
one
You
full-time,
can't-
one part-time, and took a full load
So, thank you, thank you.
because I wouldn't take money from my parents.
And I
if they
wouldn't.
wanted
And
to the school they wanted me to, and I went
Mhm.
where I could afford it in
Mhm.
rebellion. But I worked a
time
full-time
job and a
and a
part-time.
part-time and had a full load.
I think it is the intestinal fortitude
by
of
the
the
way.
kids today.
Mhm.
They have
Okay.
no balls. They have no ability to say, can do, will do.
Right.
Not even for myself, they won't do. What they rather do, they rather go hustle on the street
Mhm.
and smoke their weed, and they find that easy money. And guess what happens? They go to jail. Then they end up in your prison camp that you like to talk about so much, the work camp. Well, no, down in D.C., they ain't got the work camps unless you're, upper levels, so they going to get there. Don't worry about it. Eventually, they going
Well,
to
they're
get to the upper levels.
enterprising. I mean, they have a work ethic. They're out there in the mornings like they're going to a 9-to-5 job. They have bosses,
They got bosses.
and they bring in money,
They bring a
and they're
lot of
held
money.
accountable.
Yep. Because
Yeah,
if not, they dead or beat the hell out of.
So it's not an easy thing because their lives are in jeopardy every time they step out there. But I hear you on that because
But it's not a job that
That's paying into society, that's going to pay for all the illegals that have to be paid for their health insurance and using their tax money. No, they rather use my tax money to take care of everybody else around them. Please be for
well,
real.
that your tax dollars really there's not that bad.
No, but it becomes a conglomerate of everybody else's.
So if you worried about your tax dollars, worry about where they're really spending the money. Because
Oh.
right,
they're
it's
really
cap-
spending the money on the military and Social Security.
Oh, hold up. No.
That's where they're spending it.
they're not spending it
Pharmaceuticals.
on Social Security.
Pharmaceuticals.
That's what it is on the national budget. They're spending it on military and Social Security.
Pharmaceuticals.
But the work ethic, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
And on things that they are subsidizing in industry, like the oil companies, like the pharmaceuticals.
Well,
like-
oil companies make over $10 million a day. So I mean, come on. What I got to subsidize your ass for $10 million a day, right?
But they're still
They're paying
subsidizing
corporations.
oil.
Say it again. we are paying corporations. So we got a corporation paying a subcontractor.
Well, we have no
We
say
are-
over where our
we
tax
are-
Yes,
dollars
we do
go.
have a
We
say
are
because we are in the
paying-
United States of
No, you don't.
America.
And
No, you
then
don't.
those
Yeah, we do.
corporations
Voting
are
on that?
moving offshore.
Because you allow those people that you vote for to sit in a fucking office and think they're fucking God. Let's
Well,
just be honest.
let me
They're fucking gods. Hey, you will let me. You will let me your.
labels.
You will let me
big
there.
God.
You will let me be your minister. You
But
will let me head of the
tell
church.
you about Republicans in this bipartisan.
Who's talking about Republicans? I
Okay,
just said
so-
you will let me
so-
your minister, and
no,
all I do
that,
is
you-
run the
but
church.
You always
Guys?
turn it to politics.
Who's talking politics?
Daryl, just
You
be
put me
quiet,
in.
Daryl. Just be quiet.
I was saying it from the beginning. You put
Let
me
me
as head
tell
of
you
the
about
church, and
this
all you did was sit back.
You know, the things that could provide jobs and get people out there working. You know, you forget that there's this little side piece that's implemented in there called privatization.
Okay, everybody can privatize.
And so in
It's
these
not that hard.
things that we have already paid for to use and we're taxed on, then they want to auction off this country, sell the infrastructures that are already there to private
Who's
corporations,
selling them?
the old ones, and then sell it to them, and then take that money to build a new, and therefore leave that in the hands of privatization, so that we have to pay all over again.
Yard
for
sale.
everything that we do, like
A yard
toll-
sale.
we already paid toll things, and once it becomes a privatization, there's no
A yard
there's
sale.
no, what?
You just basically described a yard sale. I take something that's
Well,
old, I'm taking it out, putting
well,
it. Oh no,
whatever.
let me say it
No,
nicely because you want to
no,
talk over me.
no,
You take
because,
something
you
old
have
and
that
you put it
mindset,
outside, and somebody
that
buys it.
is
You take
totally
what they bought, the
different
money
from
from it, and you
majority of the
repay it.
people color in this country.
You just described a yard sale. I just took a piece of this object right here. I'm selling
The
this
thing
object,
is that
and I'm gonna
we're
buy
not
a
even
new
being-
object
No,
for the
in
money
order
that I
to
got
get these
for it.
jobs, they want to sell all these
Want to go through somebody? It's a yard
things
sale.
through a private company that once that company owns it, the federal government will have no say in how.
Because it's private.
Yeah, and
If
they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't sell our infrastructure
Whoa.
to private companies for them to charge us
You let
use those.
Obama
Who-
sell the World Wide Web to a private company in California. Be for real.
The World Wide Web.
Yeah.
It was sold to a private company in California. Be fucking
Well,
for real.
How
The
the
URL.
there
The
is
URL.
no reason. There is no reason that private company should be considered a private company because it was started and funded by DARPA, which is a government agency.
Subcontractor. I'm gonna use the word subcontractor. Don't say it's a government agency. Subcontractor. And the
that's
company
how
that
they
bought
did
it
it.
is a subcontractor of the subcontractor.
But
It's called the trickle down theory.
Money that bought and paid for it. It's a government agency, and it should not be considered
It's a
private
private corporation.
under any circumstances.
It's a private corporation. I
So
can prove
Penny.
it.
So you're saying
If it has
that
government ties.
SpaceX should not be private and it should be public?
SpaceX was funded by
Elon Musk
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
and the government and the government.
And the government. Come on. NASA had her hands into it too.
Isn't he doing the same thing that NASA used to be?
No,
Yes.
he's putting
Well,
more of his
He's
money
going
into
into
it.
space, isn't he?
Oh, hold on. Stop. He's doing
He's
more
taking
than NASA
over-
is.
He's taking over the mission to Mars, isn't he?
He's actually going to Jupiter.
Jupiter, really?
Mhm.
Jupiter?
No.
Yeah,
He's
last
pulling it
article.
out of his
Last
ass,
article, he wants to take the tank to Jupiter. I mean, hell, he's got the
Mhm.
hey, he's got the Tesla in space, baby.
Well,
Ah,
He's got,
shit.
he's got a car with a couple of mannequins floating around in orbit around the sun. That is not having a Tesla in space.
Hey, excuse me, but it's his first car, and he sent it to a place where it will last forever and maybe never crash if he can get it in proper orbit. If he can do that, then that would be the test for his injection engines, but that's another topic. And he also said he figured it out. But here's the next question. That way, privatization, becoming, the government always puts their hand in everybody's business.
Where did Ramona go?
She's on screen right now. All right, privatization. Here we go. Here's a good example of privatization. ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, all the rest of them.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, stop. They're not private. They have government in them.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's wrong with
They're
DARPA?
Project Mockingbird.
So what's wrong
They're
with DARPA?
government agencies.
What's wrong with DARPA? So you consider them part of the U.S. government. So that
Yeah.
means all the people there need to be paid government wage. Oops, don't get caught now.
Why not?
Okay, just checking. So now you can just enlarge the corporation to control. Now we just got 1984. Now we just got George Orwell.
Admitting
We
that
just-
it's just government propaganda.
No, now we're just saying you just created George Orwell in 1984. You got
Yeah.
Big Brother complete
They're
now.
already doing the same thing.
There's
Saying
private
yeah,
ownership.
there's
Project Mockingbird.
yeah, but these types of things, it's like a pendulum. You know, there's cycles, and it's
There's
decade
cycles.
cycles.
They
You know, where
want
you
to
have
make
Unless you're in
have some-
Asia.
everything be private, so we don't have any rights, but our taxes paid for it.
Well, what
The
Penny,
thing that if our taxes paid for it, we should not be charged extra.
Thank you. I agree with that.
That's right.
I agree. We
Right.
should not be charged extra because our federal and state taxes are actually paying their wages. But
Yes.
hold on. But they also make corporate wage. Oops.
Just
That's-
like land. You buy land and damn, I've ended up paying more in tax on the land than I did for the land.
Land itself.
Yeah.
But hold on. I thought
And if I find gold on it,
they would
I
tax.
can't claim it.
You can't claim it? You don't own the land
No.
above and below? Do you-
No, they took all mineral rights away years ago.
Oh, so you don't
Well,
live in that part of
if
Texas
you
where you own the land
can
below
get
and above.
And Alloyd, pronounce it every time.
Alloyment.
Alloidal deed that takes it all the way back to the dirt. You have the rights to everything, and you don't have to pay tax.
The land above, the air above, and the
But-
land below.
But getting one of those titles is damn near impossible these days.
Yeah, but if you exercise your Second
Second
Amendment
Amendment
right,
rights.
you buy, a F-16, then you should be able to get your mineral rights.
Hey,
think,
hey,
right?
we can go get our lightsaber because of the Star Wars program, and we can just
Then you're gonna get your
their
gold.
heads off. Hey, I can see Penny running around with a lightsaber, her Jedi outfit. You are not taking it, and Ramona be like,
Honey, I was in a smart suit, and it was in black and white. And
Ooh, was
my-
it tight?
My little
Oh, sorry.
saber was what we used on ships because it didn't make holes in the wall to let the air out. So yeah, I can use a lightsaber.
But see, the fun thing about it, everyone, is that there's no answer to any of this. Haven't you figured it out? You
It's
lose.
just designed to keep us fighting amongst ourselves
Yourselves.
while they do whatever the fuck they want.
It's a
Just stop the
programming.
potheads. You stop the potheads, and we're going to have a more productive society, and everything's going to be okay, and you'll be able to get a loan from J.P. Morgan.
Hey, how about this? And if we just go ahead and legalize all the poppy seeds in the world and make sure we grow them here, we can have some people out there overdosing and dying, and we won't have to worry about the prison system.
Well, we were
keeping-
growing poppy out here.
We were at one time.
We were growing poppy
I know you
before
were.
1930.
Yes.
And since then, we've taken over the poppy fields in Southeast Asia
Afghanistan,
and Afghanistan.
and
So
also
we
in
now
Syria.
have a total control over the international market through the CIA, and we are now barred from growing our own damn poppies, which would
Yep.
grow just fine
Can't even
anywhere in the United States.
Hey, hold
Hey,
on,
So
Doc.
there's no
cannot buy
reason to
poppy
keep.
seeds to put in my muffins.
Hold on,
We
Doc.
got absolutely no reason to be invading this Middle Eastern
Hold on,
country
where's my bottle
to
at?
grow
God damn it!
poppies
Here's
there
a new one.
because we can grow them here.
They grew here. In
Hey,
California, poppies grew
Doc.
wild.
Doc, you better pick up your bottle because I got a statement to say. You ready? Yeah, I got a bottle here. I got some pop off. I got a bottle here. All right, I got a statement. I agree. You know something, Doc? Let's legalize it all and let all the chips fall where they may. Hold on. We got some sane people still left, right? We put our trust in the sanity of the sane people. Think about this. We can eliminate the population of all the weak. And it'll be nothing but...
I mean, you bring up a good question.
And then here's a statement. Here's a better
You bring up a
statement.
good question because, Daryl, because we're seeing the destruction of our country,
And we have...
we're seeing a growing population of of the wheat. Right. You know, but
and
the thing is
cocaine and heroin and keep going.
Cocaine.
Make it all legal.
Fentanyl. Everything
Systematic.
They'll weed themselves out.
is
You won't
systematically
have to
being
worry
fed to
about it.
us. It's systematically being fed. Hell, they even found fentanyl in clams.
and clams.
Yeah, they were dipping them in clams and selling them in what was it? Over there in Texas. What's that island off of Texas?
And Padre Island?
Yes.
Well, wait. How did they get him in? How did
They were
get into the
dipping
clams?
them in. They were dipping them in the water. So
Or they were dumping the fentanyl that
Fentanyl in the
was
water.
getting ready to get confiscated in the water.
That's
Oh,
all. That's always possible.
let's just
too.
let the drugs go, Doc. Listen, you'll be the only sane doc. You'll be
Yeah,
the
how
brand.
many of
Listen,
your-
listen.
how
But,
many
you know,
of
but
your
the thing-
coworkers
But
are
no,
living
there'll be a
living
few
in
sane
fear?
people left, Doc. Think about the thought of this. You won't have to worry because you'll be so needed that you're gonna work my hours, 40. What time is it now? 62 hours of pure straight work. You're gonna love what I do, motherfucker.
And remember, he's disabled in doing that.
Hey, and guess what? You may even take a side job and become a school teacher to help teach literacy.
Well, here's the thing. The bottom line.
Hold on,
is
let me
that
get my bottle
country
again.
is going to fall because it has made the same mistakes that other great civilizations have made.
We let people
And
influence it.
therefore, all of this is mute because as individuals, we have lost our sanity and our ability to use critical
But we've lost
Whatever
the
we're
ability
doing-
to do critical thinking by the population.
Critical
At
thinking.
the same time that we have shifted from being a republic to being an empire. That was the result of World War II, was that we became an empire.
We pay him the
And
sheriff.
we are not admitting it even to ourselves. But that's the truth of the matter.
We became the
You
sheriff.
can't-
world domination.
You cannot be an empire overseas and a republic at home. It don't work.
That'll be
Okay,
Rome.
so-
That'll be Rome. That'll be an example. Rome.
All right.
And Rome, what did it do? It spread itself like England, too thin.
Like
It's
America.
They spread themselves too thin. And what we've got now is our minority people are manning the military overseas, and they are taking their families with them.
And guess what they're doing? They're spreading and blending and spreading and blending. But it's not even about minority or majority, or as we were taught. But
Well, this was one of the things that Doug Dietrich brought up, was that with the schooling system no longer teaching critical thinking, that you've got your classes of human beings who cannot get jobs because they moved overseas, that they are ending up in the military and they are unable to think critically, and they are taking their families worldwide.
Of course.
I think
what our military is.
Penny, you just gave me a
revelation.
A revelation.
I know.
An epiphany. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop covering SARS-CoV-2 and trying to save our country, and I'm just going to use my trading station behind me, and I'm going to sell America and just be a transnational capitalist.
Hey, you know
Thank you
something?
very much.
Hey, hold on.
And I can make a lot of money doing it.
Paul, guess what? I was trying to get you to see that. Instead of doing what we're doing,
I'm just gonna hit
let's
the
just
sell
go
button.
for button. Sell, motherfucker, sell! Damn it, sell it! Ah, you son of a bitch.
There are things that can still be done to save this mess, but none of them are going to be easy.
No, but we can sell.
First is honesty, and we're incapable of that. Our government is incapable.
Who cares about honesty? Sell!
Most of our people will lie, even when they would be better off telling the truth.
Right, right.
Let me ask Brad Olson to come in
If you
here.
don't have the honesty, you don't have the trust. And if you don't have the trust, you have chaos.
Well, how do you know what to trust when you've been lied to on so many corners? I mean,
they can prove,
no. Bottom line,
prove beyond a shadow of a doubt.
They've already
You can.
proved
I mean, even though the government has been lying to the population, they could start telling the truth. They could start telling the truth.
That would be.
There's
a great
benefit
step
of
forward.
starting. Right?
There would be a great step forward just to stop lying and start telling the damn truth.
Lying. Stop lying.
That's what I said.
Stop trying to divide the people to keep them distracted for your own financial
gains.
If you're elected into office, you're there to serve the people. You're not there to line your own pockets. And if that's what you're really there for, be honest. Tell the people that.
And if we had followed, if they had meant in that Constitution for all people here.
Well, we've slowly made it where it applies to all of us. Because in the beginning of it, it only applied to white men over 21 who owned land.
Hold up, stop. I know black people that had slaves, and they were
but
they weren't citizens.
Yeah, they were.
They weren't allowed to vote.
Yes, my great grandfather was a citizen.
And they kept taking that away.
Curtis Lake, the whole land around.
So we have gone step by step by step to the point where everyone that has been born here is a citizen.
Okay, now
regardless of race or gender.
Hold on. There was no such thing as
good.
Hold on. Define gender.
At the same time, what you've got is a hereditary oligarchy who's actually running the thing behind the scenes.
Stop! You got to define gender now. You threw a new word in there. Define gender, please. You gotta define it now. You opened that door, and I'm not gonna let you walk through that door without it. Define gender.
Define gender.
Yes, because how many genders are there?
Born in between. What do you want to call it?
Okay, so what about people that are going for the changes?
Yes, Dr. Paul. My children.
Wait. What do you mean?
Adrenal hyperplasia, and my youngest was born intersex.
Right.
In between. So there are 3 biological options: male, female, and intersex. So when you've got people that are identifying with a gender that doesn't match the physical, they're still citizens because they're here. They're human. So I'm not even going to step through the door of trans and identification.
Well, but the thing here's the issue, though, Penny, and I understand your case, but the case of your son, that's rare.
Yeah.
That's very rare.
That's a
Yeah.
Very,
rarity.
very
But
rare.
it still
What you're
happens.
talking about. It still happens, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
The far majority of this gender bending is psychological and not physiological.
I think that more of it is chemical because of the various chemicals that we're using in food and in food production.
You remember girls were
At-
getting big breasts, eating at
at-
McDonald's.
Well, there is
Atrazine
something to be
is-
said about that. What Penny is
Atrazine
saying
has
is there is
been
something.
tested and proven to turn males into females.
Yes. Lower the testosterone.
Well,
levels.
wait, hold on, Penny. If we define male, female through genotype
There's
or
a-
karyotyping, then that is one way to define what a male and a female is. If it's
But
an
at the same
XY, independent if the testes
But
descended or not,
If
independent of if there was testosterone,
if the
it made correctly at the right
is
time.
this one and it creates testosterone before
Yeah,
the child is born,
Penny.
the brain
Time out.
male. You're trying to
No,
argue.
no.
We're not
I've
going
been
for the
living
brain.
Penny,
We're going for the
40
genetics.
Penny, just listen.
We're not going for brain. We're going
If
for
you're gonna,
genetics.
if you are defining sex as XY or XX, if you have a
What
Y
about the
chromosome, then you're a male. Well, that's a different story. But the thing is that if you're defining XY or XX or XXY,
I'm not. I'm
then
going.
if you
I'm
have
going
a
phenotype.
fully functional Y chromosome, you're a male based on genotype.
Even if you're
But-
messed with
Wait, I didn't finish yet, Penny. This is the problem. You have to listen to the whole story. If you have a Y chromosome and you don't have an issue with the SRY on the Y chromosome, you're male.
Male. But
All
if
right,
you
you're
do have
male.
An issue.
Now, the thing is that during development, something can happen and that testosterone may not be at the right concentrations at the right time to allow further development into male because we default to female,
That's how
even
it
if you
defaults.
have a Y chromosome. So in that case, you're a phenotype female, but you're a genotype male. You're still male. You're just phenotypically female.
And
So when
my
someone says
question
what
is,
sex you are,
why
what
the
sex
fuck
you are,
does it
then it really
matter?
is genotype. It's not phenotype.
And my question is, why the fuck should it matter before the law?
Because the point comes in is that
Because you're
no.
trying
The
to say
point
that
that
the
no.
male
Now
is
now
superior.
there's a category. No, that's not what I said. That now there's a category of people that don't have a phenotypic
Phenotype.
issue,
Right.
but they're having a hormonal issue because of the environment they're in.
That's a
And that
difference.
is affecting that now they're getting hormonal disruption. All right. And when you get hormonal disruption, you can start showing signs of the opposite sex. And that is primarily due to environmental factors. All right. That can be reversed if you remove the environmental factors. You can't remove.
Not if they
So-
happen during the pregnancy and the
And then there's
child is
another
born.
there's a net. No, that falls into phenotype
Phenotype.
versus
Phenotype
genotype.
versus
But
genotype.
but there's three
But
three
the
categories here.
problem- the
There's
problem
three
that-
categories.
that
There's ones that are just
conservative
gender bending.
keeps-
There's the one There's three categories here. There's ones that are it's all psychological. The other category it's hormonal because of what's happening in their environment. And then there is issues in development.
And I'm feeling bullied here because you're not listening.
Oh my God!
listening.
You feel,
Oh,
I'm
I
listening.
love-
you feel,
I love
you
that
feel,
look.
you feel.
Shut up.
I'm gonna say you fucking feel.
Okay.
The woman I know that
have a
curses like a
kid
sailor
whose
says he
phenotype
fucking
was
feels.
XX, whose phenotype was in between and was assigned surgically to be XX and is now an adult and thinks that he was a castrated man because I signed for the surgery because I was threatened by CPS that if I didn't, I would lose my child.
California.
Now, this is a serious problem for this minority group that has this issue. They are not being allowed to get to an age where they can choose what gender is assigned. It's being assigned as soon as they're born based on their genotype. And this is fucking wrong.
Yep.
Should I play?
You know, I, as you know, as a medical student,
As a
I
medical
really,
student,
as
you
a medical
need to
student,
hear
my,
this.
well, as a medical
You
student,
need
I don't
to
really.
hear this.
I just heard it twice. So, you know, as a medical student, you know, I really don't have an opinion either way. I think it's really a choice of the parent on which
It's
way
not.
they want it to go.
It's a choice of the medical establishment. And if you stand against it, you lose your child. And the surgery is done anyway.
Hold on.
They match.
Oh my God.
They
That's- I mean,
match
but you're talking
the
about-
child to the genetic gender.
They match the child to the genetic, with the
Their
genotype.
decision.
Yes, with the genotype. They match the child to the genotype right after birth, and they don't really care.
And your
whether-
child was XXY?
My child was XX with congenital adrenal hyperplasia, which means that he was exposed to testosterone from the 5th month
Oh, I
of
see.
pregnancy,
Okay. All right.
which
yeah.
means his brain is male,
But his body's female.
his body is now female, and he's been passing as male for the last 21 years.
And that's not trans. That's more.
That's not trans.
No,
No,
it's not.
that's intersex.
That's intersex. And there's very few intersets out there, which would also.
But they are a very real community with a very real problem because religious people can't handle the thought that somebody might actually be born
Yeah, but what I don't understand,
in
what I don't,
between. I was excommunicated.
what I don't
because my
understand
child
is
was
why.
in between.
What I don't understand is why didn't they just leave it be
Because
type?
at that time,
Them out.
I mean,
That's
are we talking?
that's the bottom line.
The doctors
out-
weren't leaving it be back in the day, Paul.
Remember that doctors are human
They made that
beings with
decision.
their own ideas and prejudices, and many of them have a God complex.
guys, we just got kicked off a damn Facebook. We're still rolling, and we're on YouTube. And those other ones, god damn it, this shit's off the chart. Let's keep going.
No, what happened was some Christian person put in a complaint.
Nope, I got kicked off. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm on every
Yeah, but-
other shit. They don't want to hear this shit.
Yeah, but what? Yeah, but why would they? Why would they kick us off?
Why?
I mean, I don't understand
Doesn't
what they're.
make sense.
Because that's the softness of this damn society.
See,
They don't
you know.
wanna
So
hear
what
real
decade did this
discussion
happen?
about
What
real
decade did this
people.
happen? 70s,
This child was born in 1984,
84,
but
80s.
this is
No.
still standard medical procedure.
No, I know. I mean, when we went through this in medical school in first year, we, you know, that they do make a choice on which way to go.
But
And
The thinking is that if you do the
doctor-
choice, the thinking is that the rationale, at least at the, you know, at the doctor level, is that if you do it early, if you choose early, then it's easier for a child to adjust.
No,
But
it
it's not.
isn't.
But Paul,
It
let me,
isn't easier at
Yes.
all. What it does is make this huge disconnect between what the brain thinks it is and what the body looks like, and it leaves them basically feeling like my son puts it, that he's a castrated man. That is the way they are feeling.
and here's the thing that I want to ask you, Paul, because our medicine is basically in its infancy.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, whatever is determined as right or it at one generation. 2 or 3 generations down the line, they can find out they're completely wrong.
Right.
You think you know it all with the study of genomes and whatever.
They're loving
But-
this show. Sorry.
But they just, like I was reading about this case about 10 years ago, where this woman was arrested and her kids taken away from her because her kids, she couldn't prove those were her kids that came out of her body because they didn't have anything in common as far as gene,
Genetics.
But now they know that there's such a thing as, what is it called? Cairo, where there are children that are born that do not have any of the stuff from the mother. I forget the term.
Polyspermia.
And the only way
What?
they knew that was because when they put her in jail, she was pregnant. Also, she had 3 kids, her and her husband, and she was pregnant when they arrested her. And arrested her for kidnapping, actually.
Okay,
But
this
she had to be-
is medically, it's fraternal that are reabsorbed. And so you end up with one child that is fraternal twins merged. And
But that
different
child,
parts of the body will have different genetics depending on which fraternal twin it was. And
Oh.
some of them, the ovaries do not match the rest of the body.
well, she had the child while she was in prison. And
It's
her
normal.
doctor was smart enough to take a DNA test.
Mhm.
And still the DNA.
This
So
does
that's-
happen. It's not common, but
No.
it does happen.
Supposedly, they know of 4 cases in the world.
It's an
but-
immaculate conception.
How many other cases? And my point is that there is so much,
Right.
and you're limited by the knowledge of certain things as
Right.
a medical profession.
That's right.
But
Absolutely.
Because there's more to what makes a male and a female than the sex organ that they have.
Hmm. Well, I mean, you just take it one step further. Just look at how we're treating cancer right now. I mean, it's almost
Yeah.
barbaric. It's barbaric, but
It's
we have to go through the
it's
learning
cut and burn.
curve.
For
or
50
or
years, 60 years? Come on, Doc Paul.
chemotherapy, and everything else is illegal. And
Yeah.
in California, it's a felony to have anything besides surgery, radiation, or chemo. Anything else that is out there, it's illegal for your doctor to talk about it with you.
Even
So,
if it's legal in other countries and people are being treated.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
so much that is.
you will be practicing in
Oh.
California, Paul.
I mean, the thing is that she's right. We are in our infancy stage of understanding how complex the human body is and how to treat it. And we're going to look back 100 years from now and we're going to go, how barbaric,
gonna
and how
think
stupid
about-
we were in
We're going to
medicine.
think about this like looking back and we think about leeches.
Right.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you on that. But the thing is, you have to go through the learning curve to get to that point.
Yeah.
And how many people do you have to damage in the meantime?
As many as you can.
How many have to die?
Well, we try. We try not to cause harm. I mean, or at least that's what we're told. That's
my
what
experience with
it just.
the
But then,
profession is that most of these doctors are out there with a God complex, and they get really, really, really pissed if you question them about anything.
There's different doctors. They have different bedside manners. Some of them are
In
really
fact-
really understandable, and some of them do have this God complex.
And then also too, you have to understand,
It's a
graduate-
business also. It's a business too.
and they
Yeah, it's a
graduate
business.
med school with a C- average. as opposed to someone who graduates with an A average.
Yeah, but not necessarily an A average medical student is a better doctor.
No.
They just scored better on a test.
When I was pre-med, we were told that all that mattered was our grade point average and our care, whether we were good people or not.
Right.
And so
I'll take it one step further. They prefer that you're not a good person, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's the impression I've gotten by seeing the results. And I go in there and I know enough being lied to. Yeah. And I know when I'm being taken advantage of. And I used to advocate for my kids, and I was literally threatened with CPS over that surgery. They had the CPS worker in the hospital room with me. So
yeah, I'd be curious to know if that situation happening today in 2021, which way would it go? Would it go the opposite?
No.
Probably is happening.
It is still the standard
but this
care to assign based on the genotype. That is still the standard of care.
Damn.
They are literally mutilating kids.
See, I thought it was the decision of the decision of the parent after consultation with the physician.
We went back live.
I wanted to wait until the kid was 10 to 15 years old and could make the decision for himself. And that was unacceptable.
Oh my God. Hey, everybody on Facebook, we want to say thank you for sticking in because we're back live again. And we got a lot of comments and questions. And yeah, we got a lot going on. Let's continue the show. I'll go through the questions in a few minutes. A lot of questions.
Yeah, we've got some comments.
Yeah, we got a lot of comments going through, and shares went crazy.
I just think that as even government, medical professional, just say we're not sure or that's beyond our limit of knowledge. But they don't. And I think
they've started telling me that because I will stand and argue with them.
Yeah,
and
because you look at
the doctor I had that retired, that was my doctor for 25 years. He asked me once, "What do you need a doctor for?" And I said, "I don't have a license to prescribe my own meds." And he goes, "You too need me."
Oh my God.
Yeah. I grew up on a dairy.
Oh, you know what to do there.
We treated our farm animals.
Yeah.
I don't need a doctor except to get prescriptions.
Honey does a lot of things.
and to order blood tests because I can read them. And people with that kind of a background, we go in, we tell the doctor what's wrong, we expect a certain outcome, and if they're not going to give us that outcome, then they need to tell us a rational reason why not.
Because they don't give up.
Damn. Okay. Here's the question. Go back to the basics then. We gone all haywire now, so let's get back to the basics. Do you think these kids today could actually do what you did back in your day, Penny?
No.
No.
I got the answer right then and there.
That's why
I can't fight for these kids. I can't fight for them.
100 bales of hay, unload them, mow 7 acres, etc.
I used to throw hay bales.
It's so hard to find someone to do it.
You can't find them. You know why? Because they'll say, well, I'll get it done for you. Could you can I do it for 3 days? You pay me for 3 days?
You're expected to work outside in the weather. That might be snow in the winter.
It might be a hurricane.
Weather. Exactly.
Right,
and
Ramona?
if you're on a dairy, those animals still have to be taken care of, whether it's a hurricane or not.
Right.
Because if you don't milk those cows on time, they will go dry and you will lose everything. everything.
Or
So this is the way I was raised. The animals come first,
thank you.
always, every time. And that's the way things used to be. It didn't matter if it was 120 outside.
You got to get out there and
You
do the
might-
farming and
You
take
were
care of them
out
animals.
there, and there was a thing that we used to call Okie air conditioning, where you dipped your hair into the ditch, and
Yeah, where the water is.
as you worked, you had dirty water in your
Your
hair,
hair.
and as it evaporated, you cooled off, but you kept working.
Mm-hmm.
People don't do that now. Well, the migrant farm workers do, the immigrants that
Isn't it a
everybody's so
shame
pissed
that you have to
about
go to that
being
level?
here.
Isn't it a shame you have to go to that level and say the immigrants?
Yeah, it is. Because people don't want to do that.
So you can admit that
Okay?
Americans are weak. I'll say
So,
it.
Then we
They're
have
lazy.
where I
No, they're
live, we
weak.
have forest fires, seasonal, every year, have had for centuries.
Yep.
The only reason that we have a problem with it now is because we've built cities into those forests.
Hold on. So the forests were destroyed for the cities. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Yes, the forests were destroyed for the cities.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I didn't mean to say it like
all
that.
of the chemtrails that we've got, the aluminum in the chemtrails is killing the trees.
Mm-hmm.
So you can cruise over the hill, and every brown tree is a torch. All it
Literally.
takes is one spark to hit that torch, and you've got it sending sparks
Yeah.
for up to 3 miles in the winds that the fires themselves start.
And it takes a long time for the firemen to get there, don't it?
Of course it does, because it's in the mountains.
And they ain't got access to helicopters.
And you're looking at 45-degree angles on those hills, and there's no way to get to it because there's no roads. And if you bring in a helicopter, you're just spreading the fire. So these people are having to get there on foot. In some of the worst wilderness the West Coast has to offer. And there's no way on God's green earth that we're able to log all of these trees that are now torches. Between the chemtrails, aluminum, and the bark beetles, half the forest is dead. It's sitting there just waiting to be burned.
Waiting
So-
for industry.
Where we are, we tell people point blank, log it or lose it. So that's what's going on in the parts that have people. At least where I live just north of Yosemite. So I'm in the part that is oak forest, and the roots of these forests are getting on fire, and those fires will burn for up to 10 years. So all it takes is hot weather, maybe a lightning strike, and that fire that was there 10 years ago is coming right back. And if you've got a house built there now, you're going to lose your house. And that's our reality. And telling us to go rake the forest is kind of stupid.
Huh?
Yeah, that's what people are telling us, is that we need to go rake the forest
Where you
and
going?
get up all the leaves, because the leaves are what's starting the fire. No, it's the fucking dead trees.
Well, you get some exercise.
Yeah, right.
Go
I'm
get some
gonna go
immigrants.
rake
Look, go
miles and miles and miles.
Go get some
People
immigrants.
forget-
go get some immigrants.
people forget California is 200 east to west and 700 miles north to south. If you picked us up and put us on the east
That's a lot of liberals.
We're not all liberals. I've told you that before. Okay? If you
It's
picked
still a
us
lot of
up
liberals.
and put us on the east coast, we would be from New York City to the north coast of Florida. We're that big. And we have 1 in 8 Americans live in our state. And no, we're not all liberals. It's the coastal cities that are liberals. The rest of us wish they would go away.
Mhm.
But, you're looking at, we provide half the produce for the entire country.
Very true. And the wine.
And the wine.
Yeah.
And the pistachios. And the almonds.
And don't forget the
and
walnuts.
And because we are
And the liberals.
harvesting-
Can somebody
And
explain
because
to me
we
what
are
is a liberal?
harvesting those dead trees,
What
we're
exactly is a
providing
liberal?
that lumber that's now quadrupled in price since the COVID shutdown.
Oh my God.
All the abolitionists, huh?
So what we've got here is a situation that is out of the average person's control and complete lack of sympathy from the rest of the country. They don't care if we fall into the ocean. They don't care if we burn to the ground, because we're just liberals.
Can somebody explain to me what is a liberal?
A liberal is a person that accepts every damn thing and wants to change nothing.
And what is a
Well,
conservative?
well,
What's a conservative then? Because I thought they didn't want to change anything from World War II.
They
well.
don't. Conserve our way of life is what.
That's just a statement.
Bring
I
it back.
put it in the category of, you have a group of people that want less government is better government, and you have a group of people that say more government is better government.
Now,
Well,
which is
So
which?
I
If
I think
that is your
the
definition, then I would be conservative. If
Right.
you are
So
talking about freedom from government to participate in personal activities, I'm all for that.
well,
I'm all for deregulating personal activity. Because
well, there is
if you are doing something that's going to harm others, I can guarantee you're going to pay the penalty. People won't tolerate that very long. Now, when I grew up, there was a group that would pick up those people the first time, beat the crap out of them. The second time, they would beat the crap out of them where they were off work. And the third time, these people would just fucking disappear.
Mhm, mhm.
Now,
it's a good point that you're making, but to answer the question, what is a liberal? I mean, I put them in the category of ones that are pushing socialistic programs.
And that's what they do. Social
So
philosophy.
it's about socialism towards communism.
Socialist-
I'm more of a
fascism and socialism become the same damn thing.
in the
right.
end.
That's right. You're right, because the continuum isn't linear; it's circular.
It's circular.
So if you go too far left, you become right. And if you go too far right, you become left.
Become left.
Right,
Yes.
right, exactly.
And so the point is, at some point, we have to find union without being.
That's why it's
tyrannical.
better to be a centrist. It's better to play the middle. It's better to be a centrist and weigh the
And that's
benefits.
That's why I don't embrace the conservatism label, is because it locks you into a mindset where you cannot interact with people.
But I think that what's more dangerous is liberalism than conservatism,
I think what is
right? Because
most dangerous is being
Well, I
locked
have to thank
into.
the liberals for allowing me to be able to work a job just like anybody else, and to live in a place where anybody else can live, and to vote without having to be encumbered.
That's
I
true.
have
It was the
The
liberals who
liberals
brought
for
the
that,
Voting Rights Act.
because other than
However,
that,
that
the only
was
job I could get
the
is
Republican
Republican
Your
Party.
did that.
The Republican Party did that. So thank
no,
them.
they did not do that, Daryl.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
They did not do that.
Tell her, Penny.
It wasn't.
The Republicans are who ended slavery. The Republicans are who gave us the Voting Rights Act.
But they took
The
it away.
No, they
They
didn't.
took it away.
Republicans
They
are
took it away. Now
When?
let's
the
be honest.
Republicans are who ended Jim
damn.
Crow.
Yeah, but the
And
thing is it was
No,
the
I don't
Democratic
understand
Party.
what's
It was the
wrong.
Democratic Party, who are liberals, that created the Ku Klux Klan that caused all the
You know
atrocities
who
in the South.
created the first Ku Klux, the first
The Klan was created by
introduction
They-
to the Ku Klux Klan, and you can research it for yourself. The white evangelicals.
they were liberals.
no,
But they were
were.
Democrats.
They were
Democrats.
They were Democrats.
Okay, but who
They
who
were
are these
not
Democrats that you're
liberals.
talking about back then? They're not
You're
the
trying to
same
get individuals.
Democrats
She
that
wants
are
to get an
today.
individual.
Why
Well,
is
She
it
that's-
wants a
that you
name.
don't admit
She
that?
wants a name. And she finds out that name, then the name, if she finds out that that person was a Democrat, now she'll change
Shut
party.
up, Daryl.
Because all she wants is a name. Guess what?
No.
The
I mean,
Republicans
I
ended slavery. The Republicans
I
ended
cannot
this. The
stand.
Republicans ended that.
That's why I keep
The
saying
Democrats
The
were
that
Democrats
the
ain't done shit but send us a
that
war.
jumped over to the
labels
Republican Party, my friend.
just cause fighting.
Hey, how about
What
this?
we need
No,
to
because
talk
there's
about
nothing
is
that
specific things that need to be fixed.
white people need to listen.
Regardless
Who cares? It's in the book.
of the labels. Fight over the labels.
But the
Right.
but the truth is that the Dixiecrats, who were Democrats
Right.
Yes.
before
Right.
Kennedy,
Right.
were racist. The George
Right.
Wallaces, the
Right.
David
Right.
Dukes.
Right. Right.
That was the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Right.
And then Kennedy won. He started passing these civil rights bills and stuff like that.
Right.
He
No.
was murdered, and Lyndon Johnson continued to sign it because they thought that would be the end of it. But he said, this may be the end of my career. And he signed that bill. Now, at that point, the liberals, that organization, the Democrats were becoming liberal, leaning towards that way. And the right-wing conservative Democrats jumped party and went to the more conservative, strict party that was less that, which were the Republicans. And that is where we are today. And then when
Well-
people talk about Biden and him being racist, let me tell you, damn near every white person in this country thought that same way until the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgive Biden because he's learned. But there's other people that still are holding on to those, and those are the Republicans of today, whether you want to admit it or not. It has nothing to do with conserving family values, because every group has family values. In fact, this has turned me off as far as even trusting some white person that calls themselves a Christian, because you can look back in history and they did anything but Christian activities, the followers of Christ. It's this rhetoric to them, conserving the family values. They didn't find a problem with that when they were snatching people from their families and selling their babies and stuff like that. So don't give me that they're concerned with family values. They're concerned with white family values. And that's the truth. And I'm not being racist. I'm being honest and truthful. That is what it was. And when they say that, that's what they're talking about. Because if they were really the Christian values, so much shit in this country would not have gone on for as long as it did, and still going on. Because those same people with these Christian values that are worried about somebody's abortion rights don't give a shit about somebody being shot dead in their bed. That's the reality. That's the conservative Republicans that are worried about family values.
Dr. Paul, that's what a lot of people hear when you talk.
Conservatism for the country in general is better than liberalism.
You know what? It has nothing to do. You don't need a government for that. Do it in your own freaking homes. If you teach your kids your family values like you
Right.
should, like any other religion,
Right.
then you wouldn't have that problem. You don't need a government to force people into that. Teach the people in your home first.
And let society teach them afterwards, and they still get fucked up.
They won't need it, you know?
Society gonna
I
fuck
mean,
their heads
we
up.
were taught right and wrong in our homes. When we
You're
get
right.
home, we got our butts whooped.
Well,
You're right. It's the erosion of that family unit.
We said it from the
where I
beginning.
grew up, if you didn't treat people right, you got your ass beat at school.
I'm trying to see what show this is. Shit.
And then they talk about prayer in schools. I researched that. When they
There's
start
nothing to
separating,
stop you from praying in school.
that's
if
right.
You want
If
to.
you want to go and pray,
It's just not to be led by the teacher.
or the school,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be.
I lost my
Right.
No, it
virginity
shouldn't
at
be.
12. All right, what was I saying?
Those values are to
Oh,
be
stop.
taught in the home. In the home, you don't need the government to.
Hold on.
And
Didn't y'all give CPS the rule of my home?
What?
Oh, okay. I thought you did. I thought I would quiet everybody down. CPS rules your home. Stop talking about it. CPS rules.
CPS traffics children.
I work for
CPS rules your household.
Minute.
All the child got to do is say, "He hit me." Oh, really? Okay.
Well, you can
No.
thank
You can thank who?
Dr. Spock. What was he? Dr. Spock. That's Dr. Spock. But let me tell you, that they fell onto that. They didn't want their white, but they had to pass laws in this country to make it legal for the owner or the boss to whoop and chastise black children so much that they were killed, and it became so rampant that they had to pass a law to make that legal and discipline.
What is this?
See, it's double standard, and if they stop this double standard bullshit in this country, really make it live up to what the Constitution says, who knows what kind of, we might have a great country for once.
Yeah.
Because it was never great. It was great for white people, but it wasn't for anybody else.
I thought it was great for me.
White Anglos. And then when the Italians came and the immigrants back in the early 1800s, the end of the 1700s, that's when the white evangelicals
1600s.
decided, because the black
16.
people were already enslaved, we're not going to let these people, these Italians, come here and do this. And they started treating them like they were treating the slaves, as far as,
Don't
you
forget
know,
the
rounding them
Chinese.
up,
Don't
them
forget the
out.
Chinese.
Yeah, and well, that came later.
They didn't come
each
later.
group that came in.
In California, the Asians of any specific ethnicity were not allowed to marry even among themselves until the 1980s.
I don't know.
Huh?
Huh?
You
'Cause
didn't
I
know
knew too
that?
many married Chinese people that I grew up around.
Oh, they were married in California, but they weren't legal. So
Oh.
their children were legal bastards and could not inherit the family's land. It was
I don't know.
it was
But
ongoing. That was part of the movement that ended mandatory sterilization for mental deficiency, which
doing
was
eugenics.
applied to natives, because
Natives,
natives and others of darker skin, and
also whites
I'm
that
trying to
had
hold
babies
it.
that were born
California
deformed.
California had the worst eugenicist laws in the entire country.
Oh, why you think it's so
York.
fucked up today?
New York, California, New York. Well, actually, most of the states. Yeah.
Well, Hitler talked about that he based his program on what was going on in California.
Yeah, I talked about that,
That's
not
true.
necessarily California, but the U.S. And I talked about that on my show on eugenics, so people could have a good idea of what this good old country was doing under the scenes. And they implemented the idea of passing people here, and it was about to move forward until somebody decided, wait a minute, there were too many Americans that weren't going for that, because it included them in it too. So they scratched that and sold all of that to the Germans.
Let me ask where all the hosts on this network are, because you know something, they sitting back like mofos, twiddling their thumb, listening. They should have some balls to get up in this motherfucking conversation. I mean, come on, am I right, Dr. Paul?
But
people should have balls, right? If I got balls and I go up in any conversation, wouldn't give a goddamn. And why can't all the
Paul, I understand what you're saying, but but you're not. There is something you're not saying.
Yeah, what's
and
saying
that is part of the problem, because even though Daryl has bought into,
no, I haven't bought nothing.
I believe in meritocracy. It's about merit. It's about pushing. It's about taking the opportunities and looking around you and squeezing that lemon as much as you can and finding a way to be successful and to be productive for your family. And to teach the future generation the right ethics.
Dandy, if it were a level playing field.
It is a level playing field.
Are basically screaming at you that it's not.
I see it as a level playing field.
I will, in defense of Paul,
I see it as a level playing field.
There have been times, I was working good jobs and then I became ill and eventually lost my job. Well, I had to resort to my own talents. And I would think of just little ways. I taught piano lessons on the side.
There you go.
I
ingenuity. Using skills.
Mowed lawns. Cleaned houses.
Yep.
I did something.
That's an American.
Sorry. To survive. But I knew how to do these things. If you don't, they're raising our children without skills.
Really?
Basic trade skills. Trade, there's nothing wrong in learning trades, because an office job is not promised. And those are going to be phased out as soon as robotics.
AI. I love my AI. Dr. Paul don't like AI, but I like AI. You know why?
I'm
and
not
so that's the problem.
Because guess what? It's going to take Dr. Paul's job in 150 years. Actually, they're doing it now.
We're going to have a lot of jobs in about 20 years. It's almost systematic to me, the way that it seems like they took every natural, common, old-fashioned way of teaching human being students a trade.
Mm-hmm.
They took that out of the schools.
They took it everywhere.
I can't tell you how many women I know that cannot freaking cook. Why are these meal grocery bill becoming popular? There's a wood shop, auto, to be able to build something, to use your creative abilities. Those are not taught. Those are not taught, and you are not taught, and you become 18 years old, and now you got to go out and what? You got to try to get into college. And by the time you finish that, the job that you have been training for has changed.
If you go to college, if you even finish high school.
And what's wrong with free college for everyone? See, this is a system that is not
It's not the system, it's the people.
Everybody to succeed.
It's not the system, it's the person. If you want it, it's there.
It's just
I know an awful lot of people from Detroit. I was born and raised in Detroit, and if you put the effort in, you can be very successsul in automotive. If you put the effort in, but you had to put the effort in. It wasn't going to be given to you.
No, there's nothing given.
There's lots of libraries out there.
They teach children everywhere else how to be
Start ground floor.
functional in society, how to contribute in society. They don't do that here.
Yeah, they do. They teach you how to. They teach you how to get a
Why take that out
construction
of
company,
school?
get a job.
Why
Listen,
take music out of school? It was because of music. It was because of home ec. It was because of those classes
mhm.
that I was able to get my hustle on. A little small time catering
There you
business
go.
for
There's the
friends.
answer.
But I did it. You know, anything to make legal money.
Hell, listen, I'll say it honestly. I know people that sold water on the side of the highway. $1 a bottle. Excuse me. A pack of 24 bottles is going to cost you about $4. You sell $1 a bottle, you make $24. You sell a 4 whole case. You made money. Okay, call that economics, right? People make lots of money doing that.
But you got to be taught that.
No, you don't. You just have to get the water. You got to chill it up the night before and go for it. How about this? I know people that used to make candy and sell it. I know people that push that. Hey, Paul, the snow cone man. The snow cone man.
Here, you're not allowed to sell
cents.
products from your own home here.
Oh, hold on.
And I got $1 from my mom and bought 4, took them to my high school.
And so,
when all the rich white kids that didn't have access to that, and sold each one for 50 cents.
Right.
And then I'd go back and I'd take that money and I'd buy more and take them back to school and sell them. 6th grade.
Right.
6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
But you got to have some intelligence. Now, where's the intelligence of these kids today? Where is it?
It's nowhere.
Where's ingenuity? The whole bottom line was ingenuity.
Regulations that are preventing kids from doing any of those things. We are not allowed in California to make money off of anything that we cook in our own kitchen. We have to have a totally separate kitchen for it, and it has to be inspected by the health department,
which is a $50 fee,
even if it's an 8-year-old selling lemonade.
Okay. Hey, Daryl, I have to get going.
I know.
And so when I get going, then the recording will stop, and you'll probably have to start recording on your end.
It won't stop. Trust me.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the conversation.
And Paul,
everybody.
Dr. Paul, I love you.
Oh my God! You guys
enjoyed the conversation.
To my show and
Ramona's show and whoever else's show that is tonight. Hey,
started off being my show.
It's everybody's show.
It's everybody's show.
Yeah, at this point, it's all of our show.
You know something?
Yeah, I'm running.
Ramona, this is my 1-year anniversary.
Happy anniversary! 1 year on the network. How you should feel?
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna get going here.
All right. See you later,
Bye,
Paul.
Bye bye.
And they're gonna be contacting you, Dr. Paul, to get you on their show talking about COVID. I know them. Yeah. See what that's what she does. He game. He ain't got no fear. I'm impressed, and you know what I'm impressed about? A lot of knowledge came out today, but we all got the bottom line. These goddamn kids ain't shit.
Actually, that wasn't Dr. Paul's bottom line. His bottom line was 2 months
for
bringing back the republic, basically.
Well, the problem with the republic is that it's lost.
It's been lost before he was born.
I mean,
but he doesn't understand that, so I'm not going to argue with him.
Because of corporations and other business.
Don't you you agree that anybody who was born before after, say, 1980, don't have a clue?
I would think that they have not experienced what actually was. They don't understand the change in social structure. They don't understand the improvements that were made. All they see are the bad things, and they don't see the good things, because there were both that happened. Opening up the society to all its members
Right.
was an important step forward. But making the school system where they no longer taught critical thinking was the stupidest thing they've ever done.
Well, that came within when Republicans were in office, and the first place that they start cutting funds is education.
Well, they didn't. The Republican that was in charge of that didn't think the federal government should be funding education, that
Yeah,
it
the
should be in
states
the
should
hands
be.
of the local system and the states.
And which it
And
should be.
there's a certain amount of wisdom to that, except that some states have a vested interest in not serving all the people.
How about a vested interest in getting federal money?
That too. Now, what has irked me was the dumbing down of education. Because yes, there are some kids that simply do not have the intellectual ability, but that doesn't mean everybody should be dropped down to their level.
And not only that, but like you said, everybody doesn't have the intellectual ability, and therefore they need a trade. They
Yes.
need a trade.
They need a
They
trade.
took that out.
Trades are important. Music was important.
Art.
Art was outrageously important. The trade classes, home ec on one side and
Auto shop.
auto shop and metal shop on the other side, and agriculture.
Oh, yes. I was going to go there to farming and agriculture was very important because it allowed you to survive regardless.
Exactly. These were basics
Yeah.
that if you did well or decently in those classes, auto shop, metal shop, wood shop, you could get a job with just the high school class.
Or start your own business.
Oh, hold on. We keep forgetting the biggest thing. Why couldn't they just go to the military and let Uncle Sam train them?
Well, that's what ended up
Not
happening.
everybody passes the test to go to the military and have Uncle Sam take them. I've seen more than one person in my world that failed the entrance exam to the military.
Yeah.
The
And it's not
ASVAB?
wartime.
They failed
In
it?
wartime,
Failed the ASVAB.
Hold on,
Yeah.
let me do the facial spread. All right.
There are people who cannot pass the ASVAB.
I did 106.
I couldn't get in the military because I'm blind in one eye.
That's Lou.
That's
for
Lou.
people.
I mean,
Lou. Okay, guys, Lou was not military,
but he was.
but he was Department of Defense as a contractor. So he was in the same jungle, in the same battles, but he's not considered a veteran.
Which is stupid. Because if
I
you're
agree.
there,
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
entitled to any VA benefits when it got.
because there were civilians that were there and civilians that were killed.
I
Yep.
didn't exist.
Hello, Reverend Ed.
you go to
Hello, my friends. I actually put the mute on just as you said hello. So I had to
It's
unmute
okay.
myself. It's so good to see you, Penny. How are you?
Jazzed, nervous. I need a pee break.
Oh my God.
What a coincidence. That's
I've been
exactly what's
on
about to
air
happen.
for 4 hours.
Hey, how about this? I've been rolling since. Let's see. I went through
Oh, here we go.
Leo Zagami's show with Dr. Paul.
That's your job.
And
That's
from-
your job.
That's
and
right.
And you hiked up the mountain both ways.
That's
It
right.
was a blizzard.
And I had
You had
2 pails of water on it.
barefoot.
It was the apocalypse.
Yes.
Ed,
Anything else? You were being abducted by aliens. You had to battle your way through a psychological trauma.
Yes.
Anything else?
Ed had to deal with me and Dr. Paul and Ramona.
Yes, I had to deal with them too. And it
For
was a
4
beautiful
hours.
show.
Right there would have broke me. So yeah, God bless you, sir. I'm done.
Well, we did discover something. For all you people out there that said there's no virus, there is a virus.
Yes, there's a virus. It's real.
And for all the people that keep saying there isn't, I want you to bring the proof that says it isn't. Send it to my
So
email,
that was
GRN.
number one, there is a virus. Number two, education matters.
Yes.
And
That's a new one. I'm a patent that.
number three, that corporations need to bring their.
Oh, they were.
Number four, we argued a lot over regulation, especially of illicit drugs. And three of us came to the conclusion to legalize them all and let the weak weed themselves out.
Let them die.
And the conservative sat there with his jaw open, shrieking. Yes? He said that was a very bad idea.
Yeah, but I said let them die. We can clean the slate off and get rid of them.
So there was.
No
What else
empathy
did
there.
we talk about? We talked about real history since World War II.
Yes.
And
Who was the gentleman with you?
Dr. Paul.
Paul.
Dr. Paul. If
Dr.
you're still
Paul
around.
Cottrell.
It was
and
nice
he
to
had-
meet you, Dr. Paul Cottrell.
And,
love your stuff.
He has a PhD in finance and he's a medical student.
Second year.
Outstanding. He's a genius. I can always
Yeah.
tell geniuses. Plus, he looks like a wizard, and I mean that in the highest respect because I love wizards.
So hold on, he's got a
Thank you.
master's in administration. Damn, that man's got too many degrees, I swear.
So, Penny, I also
Yes.
want to say to those who have prayed for my dad, thank you very much. He's still in the hospital. Still looks like a piece of you know what, but he's doing better. So those prayers are working.
I was debating whether to do a candle or not since you did specify. If
Light
I
a
have
candle.
your consent, then yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I'm waiting for yours, by the way. You know, fair is fair, tit for tat. I gave you my consent for lighting the candle. The least you could do is give your consent so I could pray for you.
Ah, shit!
I knew-
You don't mess
I
with a
knew
rebel
it
like
was
that,
coming.
Penny. You knew there was going to be a price.
I knew there was going to be a price. yes.
Everybody has a
Uh,
price for the $1 million man.
But you know what, Penny? You've known me for about a year, so now you know you can trust me.
No, this is
So,
1
like,
year.
about-
A year
yeah,
for
I mean-
Penny.
It's not a matter of not trusting you. It's a matter of not trusting your God.
Oh,
Oh,
well, frankly, if you've seen me,
I
You've
trust
seen him.
you. I trust
Aw.
you.
oh.
Thanks,
Him, I
Penny.
don't trust.
I understand that. I understand.
Guys, I'm gonna say good night to all of
Ramona,
my
I didn't even see you. Hi,
POTs
sweetie.
out there.
Yes, Ramona's been
Thank
an
you for
absolute
listening. If
sweetie.
you're listening and figured out that it was 2 shows run into one, I don't know.
Yeah, we
Right.
had.
Y'all get crazy.
I was happy. I would have left, except Daryl said
Right.
just keep going, that he liked it, and Ramona didn't argue.
Well, with that 93,000 people still sitting on the server enjoying the show, which is not stopping yet. So
Not
don't
yet.
leave.
93,000.
Yes.
And for
Mhm.
you 93,000 that are out there listening on Ramona Speaks the Other Truth, next Saturday, I will have Reverend Michael J.S. Carter from the History Channel's Angel talking about his book and about aliens in the Bible. So,
Oh,
Six.
shit.
Awesome.
to 8 Central Standard Time next Saturday. And with that, I'll bid you all good night.
I love you, Ramona.
I love you too.